You're listening to Knives Monroe versus the podcast, and we're here to make things about guns and stuff.
Welcome everybody to another episode of the podcast. My name is Knives Monroe. How you guys doing? Hopefully you're doing well. With me today is a very special guest. I don't know how to introduce you. You're my cousin. You're Awsker Matthew. You're also HYDRAJENAH. So how should I address you?
At first, probably it'll be Awsker Matthew at first. And yeah, HYDRAJENAH, which I do feel it's a little. I'm not even too sure I'm supposed to be calling myself that yet, but I've stuck with it so far, and yeah.
Dude, I heard your album about 3 times today, and bravo, man. Like, considering that you do everything on your own, it's absolutely incredible. I wouldn't be blowing smoke up your ass if it wasn't. I want to start kind of like at the beginning of what got you into musicianship. Like, obviously there's so much that I know about you already, but just for the listeners, how did you get started? Like, what was your introduction to music? Like, how did you know that's something that I want to do?
I started off in a church setting. I come from a religious background, and born Catholic and then converted into Christianity. I was around the church setting for a good part of my life, especially when I was a kid. So that was my first, when we would go to church, you know, me and my mom and my little sister, we would go and there was music playing, piano, accordion, bass guitar, drums, and love at first sight when I saw the drums. It wasn't what the drummer was doing, but I remember just hearing and seeing it visually as well. Like, whoa, you can do that, you know? And obviously I don't remember who was playing, but I guess the little monkey in me was very it was very primal. Yeah. Something just it moved me, and I was like, I didn't understand, but I was like, man, but so you can put these things two together, you know, like right hand and the left hand go together, and then you have the foot. So there was a lot going on, you know. Yeah. So that was like the initial, like, seeing that in drumming, and I'm like, I want to do that. I don't know how, but I would like to give a crack at it. And
how old were you?
Let's see, maybe 5, 6.
And then how old were you when you gave drums a shot?
15.
15 years old.
Yes.
Freshman, sophomore.
Probably a junior year. Junior going into senior year.
How did you get your hands on drums?
So at first, okay, well, it's around the same timeline. So I got my first drum set in my senior year. My mother bought it for me. And the whole idea was, I can't remember what the reason was, but I think it was like, probably because I was graduating from high school. And I don't know. I kind of just, this is a bad thing to say, but it's like I kind of conned her and like kind of manipulated her. I was like, please, like, I've been a good kid, and, well, maybe not the best, but I'm graduating high school. Like, if there's one thing that I want is I want a drum set. And yeah, she's like, okay, cool, go get the one you want. And so I go online, and it's my first kit was Orange County OCDP. Yeah, Orange County Drums and Percussion, OCDP. That's the brand. So to give you a little picture, that's the same brand that Travis Barker used at that time, and Joey Jordison at that time. I think if not, he would probably went to Pearl or something. But he did use it during like the Iowa area. But anyway, so yeah, that was my first crack at it, and but leading up to like giving drums a shot, okay, getting my first drum set was one thing, right? But leading up to that, I started playing at my local church. Basic songs, Jesus songs, good, catchy, great songs. I'll get into. I smile because we'll get into it, but it was my first time like getting on stage and performing. So I think once I got a little bit of reps, like playing like little local like 4 or 5 songs for worship and praise, whatever. I started to I liked it. I was like, cool, like okay, like it's for ABC, simple, pocket, a crash here and there, and that's it. Like just play the song, right? Very basic. And that's when I started to like, okay, I actually want my own now. I want to give that a shot.
When you were a kid, were you in band in high school?
Oh man, here's a good one. So in 5th grade, I remember 5th grade going to 6th grade, right? It's a big transition going from elementary to middle school. So I remember I signed up for band in 5th grade, and the band teachers came over, and they were saying, if you want to be in band, here's a list of instruments and pick your 3 choices. And I remember specifically picking, I just wrote percussion all the way down. Percussion, percussion, percussion. I turned it in. Fast forward, I go to middle school, and I was in band. And
I didn't know that.
And I was in band, and they assigned me to clarinet. I was upset. I was so like tense, and just I didn't even bother, not even give it a shot, not even one note, not even that. I think I would have just fell over and but
Do you regret that decision?
no, I don't. I sometimes I don't regret it. Like if I was in percussion, oh, beautiful, right?
Yeah.
So I can't say I don't regret it, because that's all. I just want to play the drums.
Yeah.
I just want to be involved with the percussion. Like that's it.
Yeah.
And I remember just looking over, and the band teacher's like, "All right, welcome to band, and we're all gonna get to know each other and blah blah blah. And then this is your instrument." And once he was done, I was like, "Sir, can I see you in the office?" And he's like, "Okay, sure." And I get in there, and I told him, like, "Dude, like, I'm not playing clarinet. Just what was it? What?
12.
Yeah, 11, 12." And I told him, like, "Dude, I'm not. I signed up for percussion, man." I was like, if you look back at my name and you pull up the file, I wrote percussion all the way down for a reason. I was like, why is there's not a spot for me? What's going on? He's like, "Oh, well, yeah, it's because we filled up the spot." He's like, "Well, why don't you want to play the clarinet?" I'm like, and he's like, "Do these breathing exercises." I was like, "Dude, I'm not. You can't convince me. Like, that's it. Like, I was like, "Look, if you don't want to change me, I'm gonna go to the principal right now." He's like, "All right." He's like, "What do you want to go do?" I was like, "Send me to art. Send me to art." And so I go, and literally, I don't know. They took me to the principal's office, and like, Mr. Olivo here doesn't want to be in band, and he's whatever. So yeah, I go to art class, and that was that.
That is dramatic. You know what I mean? Like, I remember, same thing. They told me, "What do you want to play?" And the only instrument I knew was saxophone because of Lisa Simpson on The Simpsons.
That's beautiful.
And they're like, "You don't want to play saxophone. You want to play the trumpet." And I was like, "Nah, I want to play the saxophone." They're like, "The trumpet?" And so they signed me up for trumpet, and I did that for 4 or 5 years, and I never got good at it. But it taught me what 4 measures were, how to count.
I envy that.
Taught me the basics, the very, very, minuscule, simple basics. So like, I have no rudimentary foundation when it comes to music. I don't have a musical bone in my body, but I was in band, and I do know like what keys are and measures and like the very basic, very, very basic things. I just know of them. I'm not a good student of that game. But I never knew about that story. And it's funny. Maybe you did tell me, but I forgot, but that sucks, cause right now Jeremy's son, Levi, he's in percussion, and when I heard that, I was like, I wonder how he got in.
That's fucking great.
How did he get in? And that's going to put him on a trajectory for the rest of his life that I think will be very interesting. And unfortunately, you missed out on that.
A little bit. So, okay, I was a little like rebellious. I was a little like, fuck, man, this is all I wanted to do. But I learned a lot from art. I learned how to draw. You know, not the best, but I remember entering like little competitions. Like the first one was get any picture you want and reverse it and then draw it like that. You have to just draw it reversed or upside down. Sorry. And yeah, and I got like an A, and it was great. I think it was like a Spider-Man with webs all over or something.
That's cool.
So it was cool. I did learn. And so, but I remember seeing kids in the hallway that were in percussion. They had a little pad and some sticks, and I remember some of these kids, they would practice away, right? Just, you know, tapping away, doing rudiments. And every now and then, a kid, or during lunch or a break or whatever, one would leave their sticks and pads on the floor, like, I'm gonna go to the restroom. So I would go down there and I'm like, oh, a pad and some sticks, and I'd be playing. And I look over to the next guy. He's like, I was like, what are you playing? He's like, hey, you're not in band. I was like, I know, but can you just show me, please? He's like, oh, this is a paradiddle. Right, left, right, left, right, left. Okay, no, so I'm there. He's like, this is the accents. Okay, cool. I wish I could have my hands too, like, but yeah, it's all good. I'm like, okay, cool. So I'm like, I'm like, oh, that's so cool. And then the guy that took a break, he comes back. He's like, hey, those are my sticks. I was like, oh, I'm sorry, man. I think this is pretty cool. So I kind of like peeked in a little bit. Yeah. But whenever I have the pep rallies, you know, the football games, I would just stare at I was like, man, that could have been me. You know, what is those called? Not congos or
quartet, or what were they called?
The quads. The quads,
yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I was like, oh man, that's so fucking. Or the snare, you know. Yeah. I was like, each one, anything that I can bang on with sticks.
As a kid, the coolest kids were the percussionists, for sure. They were the coolest kids.
I think so.
Yeah.
They were just the pulse and the prime, especially like getting ready for a football game, you know.
Especially the Donna High School theme, which is all percussion, basically.
Yeah, and very, very tribe, very like it moves you and it gets you pumped up and amped, like LFG, you know. Let's fucking go, you know. Yeah. And so it's not just for the football players. Everybody in the building can feel it and sense it, you know. And especially when you leave the pep rally, like, yeah, you know, it still sticks with you, like it still resonates, you know. Yeah. So yeah, so there was yes and no when I was not leading up to it, but that was my little peak of just like flirting with it. I don't know, or getting a little something out of it, even though I wanted to be in band.
So cut to high school, you finessed your mom into getting a drum kit. What was the name of the drum kit? It was Rachel? Rebecca?
Rachel. So
I was close.
I would back it up just a little bit. So going into that, YouTube started to come out.
Yeah.
2006, 2007, like going into high school.
Mm-hmm.
And I would try to look up any drum videos I can find. Anything. And one of them was Mike Johnson. And at that time, and now he's still there, and it's beautiful. Like the best clinician, educator, teacher. He doesn't like to be called a drummer. But at the time, it was like, I want to learn, and I want to see, and I want to know. Again, I didn't grow up with anybody that played an instrument, you know. So there was like, okay, this new thing, YouTube. So that also riled me up too. That got me like hyped up. So anything from 2006 and 2010 leading up to getting my first drum set, I soaked up a whole bunch of stuff, you know, especially Mike Johnston, and they're now called Drumeo, which is they're big, they're huge. You get all kinds of drummers and all kinds of lessons, legends, and all kinds of stuff. But at that time, they used to be called free drum lessons online, or free online drum lessons, one of those two. Mm-hmm. And I just revisited it, and there's still videos back in there like 15 years ago.
Wow.
16, 17, 18 years ago. And I remember looking at it like, it's just one camera, you know, and just let's take like this music sheet. Today we're gonna play, you know, very simple, not like today's content that we have now.
Yeah.
But so yeah, I just wanted.
But it was the beginning of that. Like it was kind of ahead of its time because people weren't educating online at the time, really.
Right.
Now there's courses and it's everywhere. Mm-hmm. But that was cutting edge at the time. 2005, 6, 7, 8, like that's really early in the internet.
Yeah.
Mike Johnson was a pioneer in that for sure.
Oh yeah, I mean, he's impacted my drumming and huge, but I'll get into that later.
Yeah.
But so I named her Rachel. It was a blue, beautiful kit, 4-piece, kick, rack tom, floor tom, snare, and basic setup. So hi-hat, 2 crashes, and a ride. Super simple kit. No double pedal, just single. And yeah, I just named her Rachel. I don't know. I didn't name her really fast. It took a while. I had to spend time with it and arrangement and sitting down. And yeah, that thing took its life.
So say you're 16, 17, 18 around this time. What, if you can recall, was like your intention with the drums? Like, what were your dreams? What was the vision? What were the goals, if any?
Just to be around live music. Just to be around the community. I just wanted to be part of the show. It's not like headlining act and everyone comes sees me. Like, there's a little bit of that, but not initially. Like, what was the intention? Well, I wanted to be with the boys or a group that we play together and we share and play music, and we reach out to the people as well and feedback and just be part of that world. I wanted to be part of that world. I wanted to be part of that
You're good.
conversation. So yes, it's me getting on stage and playing drums and performing something that you created. But also when I get off stage, it's like, okay, this band is coming up next. Yeah. Or okay, cool. Is there something you want to use or like whatever, or the band that just played before us, now I get to have a conversation with them. I could talk to the other drummer. I could talk to the vocalist. I could talk to the guitarist. Like, oh, look, that one song, man, you did this little thing. Like, what is that? Like, oh, just being part of that world, you know?
Yes.
So that was my intention, and an expression. It just going out there and just letting myself just be in the moment and provide energy, you know, and just serve the song, you know. Sometimes people think of drums as like this drum solo. It's like, no, it's not. I mean, there's a world for it for sure, but it's just I'm just part of the act. I'm like, let's say a 5-piece, right? I'm only 20%, you know? So it takes everyone else as well to make everything come together, you know?
Yeah.
So that was my intention. Just to, again, yes, play and express myself, but also express it with other people as well.
At the time, obviously, we get to redefine the landscape. And there's so many influences there that I can't even pick out. Like, I'm like an iPhone 4 and you're an iPhone 15. Like, I'm not on the same operating system as you when it comes to this new sound. It's just so new to me. But at the time, like 2005, 6, 7, what were your influences then? What made an impact on the music, your influences, something that you're like, I want to sound like this, I want to do this? Like, who were the guys or girls?
And might take me a little minute, but well, first in my childhood, it was Eminem. Yeah. I grew up in a broken home, so that alone impacted me so many ways. Not only just me, but also my siblings. I have 2 sisters, and it changed the course of direction of everything. So
how old were you? Like around 2000?
Yeah, so I was 8, 9 years old when this.
Were you
happened.
listening to Eminem around that time?
Yes.
Wow.
I remember seeing Eminem live, 1999 Spring Break. He performed "Brain Damage," "My Name Is," and "What's the Difference" with Exhibit and Dr. Dre. It was in my living room, and at that time he had blonde hair, like Slim Shady. So real quick, like I didn't, when I saw him on TV, he looked like a comic book superhero. Just, it stood out, the blonde hair. And maybe because at the time I was watching Dragon Ball Z, so I felt like he was a Super Saiyan, you know? Mm-hmm. But it wasn't the look, but also how he was rhyming. And I'm like, oh, the way he's putting words together, like, that's super cool. Yeah. And I didn't know what he was saying. Like, I'm just this little kid. Not only that, too, I felt like he was also angry. Like, you know? So I was angry too, and it was good to see someone else just as angry as me, if not more.
I have to ask,
yeah.
even though I know, but I'm putting myself in the listener's shoes. You're this 9-10-year-old. Why are you angry? Like Eminem, it's pretty well documented why that guy was angry at that time.
Right.
Why the fuck were you so angry?
I mean, I just said it. I come from a broken home, dysfunctional family. You know, once the divorce happened, you see a lot of things. You know, again, the main, my mother and father, like that was their battle, and that was whatever. But we were also involved in it. You know, so when you're a little kid, you don't want any of that shit. You just want to be a kid. You want to play with the next toy. You want to play with the next whatever. You want to go outside with your friends, and I want to ride the bike or whatever. But now, not only they're trying to figure that out. Now I'm getting like affected, but it's also affecting my little sister. So I'm trying to understand. Especially when you're in the middle of that, like, especially if for anybody out there, like, if anybody was a kid seeing like your parents about to split, it'll do something to you. It really will. So, and it's tough to pick sides, especially when you're young. Like, it is what it is. Sometimes you get in a situation like my father and or my mother can go back and forth saying, I'm the good guy, that's the bad guy. No, I'm the good guy, that's the bad guy, And it's like, I love you both. Well, why are you asking me?
That's
and
a lot to put on a kid for sure.
It's so, with that being said, like when you ask me why I'm angry, all this is starting to build up. I'm starting to get uneasy. Like, man, this sucks, and that led to, so once it happened, that led to my mom being under the wing or under her nest of being raised by a single mom. My father did support, but he just wasn't around. So that was okay. And then we started to struggle financially a lot. My mom.
How old are you around this time?
This is 9, 10, 11. So I'm starting to grow up, as a kid going into middle school. Like, so then a certain point, once, we started struggling. And again, that did something as well, which is, why you're so angry? Well, it's because the lights went out. The bill get paid. There's no hot water during the winter. There's not barely enough food or whatever. At the time, we had to get food stamps like at a time, and once they were gone, it's like, well, you have to wait one more week till like my mom gets paid or whatever, or I have to wait one more week till my father sends child support, and then you can. So all these little things, or our car getting towed, not having a car, asking for rides again, but for someone else because you just asked them. So all these little things, these little struggles, it starts to build up, and it messes with you, because I'm looking around and these kids they're not worried about that. They're not thinking about, how am I going to get a ride to school? How am I going to get picked up? So, and again, I'm 9, 10, 11, 12. I'm thinking about now survival. So going back, like, why was that so angry? Like, yeah, that's what I was seeing and experiencing. That's what made me resonate again to the music. These little life experiences maybe just captivated me towards Eminem's anger, to be like, man, I feel like that too. Like, I may not know his vocabulary, I don't know the words, but I can hear the delivery and the attack. Like, it's there, and it has so like, like he's like, oh man, like I feel like he's just Mike Tyson. Just whoa, he just knocked that guy in less than 2 minutes, and that kind of like raw energy. But I understood that. I understood that at a very young age, but yeah. So again, I know I went on a little tangent there.
No, it's good. That's what we're gonna do. Do you have a first memory of seeing Eminem?
Seeing Eminem?
Yeah, of like seeing or hearing and being like, what? I have a first memory of that.
It was the MTV.
So that was your like, whoa. Who is this guy?
Like, who is this guy? How is he putting these rhymes?
Let me ask you, did you think like this guy's white? Did you even think about that?
No.
I did. Because I remember hearing whatever song on the radio and being like, stop the tape, this kid needs to be locked away, and like all this shit. And I remember thinking like, oh, cool. And then when I saw the guy, I thought it was an actor that was playing like the character, but like he wasn't the rapper.
Right.
Until I like realized way later, like, no, that's the guy that's singing the song. Because I thought it was a black guy. I thought only black people did hip hop at the time.
Right.
So that was crazy. But I wasn't sure if you had a very similar experience of that. You were just like, well, there he is.
Yeah, again, I'm 1999, so I was what, 6 years old. Wait, no, I was born in 92. So 7 years old. So
Yeah.
my brain, I'm not even thinking about the skin of the color. You know, I just like, whoa, he looks cool. Like,
Yeah.
and that's it. And then, oh, by the way, his movement and the way he's attacking on I was like, that's really cool.
So before Eminem, was there anybody else that you were like, this is what I'm into music wise?
No, man.
So it starts with Eminem.
It starts just like that. And again, it starts only because it so happens to be Eminem. I'm trying to think. I'm trying to, like, you know, obviously I grew, I'm from the Valley, Rio Grande Valley, Donna, Texas. So there's a lot of Spanish music in the background. So yeah, there was that, but it never really made me say, like, okay, what is this? You know? And of course, I know who Selena is and all that. And no, those are great. I liked it. And like, once it came on, you're like, you kind of just, yeah, went along with it. But it just so happened they both merged together, which is seeing Eminem at the same time struggling underneath, and they kind of just blended. You know, I don't know, I call it perfect timing or whatever, but that was the first when it comes to music. You know,
Yeah.
So the very first inspiration or like the influence, hip hop, rap, you know. So now I'm starting to get into the hip hop rap world, you know, and 50 Cent, Dr. Dre, Ice Cube, NWA, all the old Wu-Tang Clan. So I'm digging like, okay, well, he's doing this. Who did it before, you know? Snoop Dogg and Eazy-E, Biggie, Tupac. I'm like, whoa, there's a whole world before this guy. And Eminem always says like, yeah, those are my heroes. I stole that from him, you know? So going back to like, why are you so angry? So yeah, that's I can't stress it enough, man. Like it really messed with me, you know? It really did. It was really hard. Again, not just for me, but for my older siblings as well. So and it just affects me. And then this is when I start, because you asked me 2005, 2006, right?
I asked you who were like your influences and your guys.
Okay, so it starts with Eminem in the hip hop rap world, and then now we're leading into that. So, okay, we're going, and now my older sister always had music in the background when I was a kid, and she's an '80s kid, so there's a lot of '80s playing, like, you know, Janet Jackson, Madonna, Billy Idol. So many. So there's a lot that I love about that stuff. But then she started to grow up. She graduated in 2000. So that year was what? New metal, boy bands, NSYNC, Eminem was there, Britney Spears, all that pop stuff, Spice Girls, you know,
Blink-182.
Blink-182. So there was a lot going on there. There was a lot. So
Music was really part of the culture back then. Like now, it's kind of like just on in the background. It's on TikTok or whatever. But music back then was like the main thing that had people's attention, I feel.
at 2000, when she graduated, what the most famous song was "In the End" by Linkin Park. It was always on. Again, I remember she graduated, and it was just a hit at that time.
Yeah.
In the end. I mean, everyone knows that.
Yeah.
Even the first note. Dun, 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 dun. Everyone knows, you know.
No, it's interesting you highlight Linkin Park because it was I imagine for you like a bridge from hip hop to new metal.
Yes.
Because they that's what new metal was like a blend of hip hop and metal. And for the listeners, like, you make metal music now. And so that's why I'm interested in the beginning, like what your influences were. Obviously they're going to change and they're going to adapt and they're going to grow in your taste. And they did. But at the time during those formative years, I'm very curious, like how that arc started, you know, and it starts with Eminem. It starts with a very angry, and that's what it was at the time.
Because of life experience.
It
lends itself to that.
Of course.
And I just so happened to come across my TV.
And so the the zeitgeist at the time was new metal. Do you remember your first impressions of new metal at the time?
I didn't even know what new metal was still. I didn't even know terms or anything. You know, at that point, I was still heavily rapping hip hop. So, but when I heard that crossover, you know, it starts with one thing. I don't know why. I was like, oh, he does what Eminem does. He's rapping. But it's not hip hop rap style. Now you have a drummer in the background. You got someone. You have chords and you have a distortion guitar. Like, whoa. You have a DJ in the back. And like, I was like, whoa, I was like, you can do that? I thought it was just a guy in a mic, you know, spitting lyrics, push play the beat, and that's what you do. And it is true, but I didn't know you could do it with other people as well and fuse them. Like, it doesn't even matter. So I was like, okay, he's singing. I was like, you can sing too. I was like,
Yeah.
whoa, like that's really cool. And Chester has a great voice, so I was like, man, yeah. I was like, this guy. At the time, I was like, I thought only girls could sing.
Yeah.
Again, my monkey brain. I was like, oh, I thought only girls could sing. And I heard this guy, and I see him on TV, MTV, and I'm like, oh, it's a dude, and he has a high frequency, you know. So, so that was a little crossover introduction of like, okay, new metal, you know. And I saw some other stuff, like maybe, I think the grunge era was about to just dying. Alice in Chains was starting to like Nirvana, but now it's Korn, now it's Slipknot, now it's Linkin Park, now it's Limp Bizkit, you know. So all that little era, okay, and then I started 2005, 2006. I started to when System of a Down came out. I can't remember which record. Maybe it's Hollywood Toxicity, maybe. Mm-hmm. And there was a double album, right in between.
Hypnotize,
but they're
and
kind of
Mesmerize. Am I making that up?
right.
Yeah,
they're kind of like there's a A and a B. That's why I see it, right?
Yeah.
I think that was the era. So at the time, again, if it wasn't for band, you know how I said I was in art, I started to play football and started in 7th grade. So with playing football and learning this sport, in the background when we have like workouts and we would work out and start training and all that, there would be heavy music in the background. So now I'm listening to a blend of Metallica, Drowning Pool, Static X, Pantera, who else? Yeah, Linkin Park a little bit. So there's a little blend to kind of get all of us pumped up. All of these guys, all these young men, coaches that are disciplining and training young men of how to work out and how to get in shape or whatever.
How to be aggressive.
How to be tough, mentally tough, how to be, committed, how to follow through. If you fall short, it's okay, get back up, all that stuff. So that was huge. So while even though rap and hip hop was in my life and I was going down the Eminem wormhole and all this stuff, I'm around new metal, Limp Bizkit, all those guys, like that kind of era. And System of a Down, I think System was like, okay, they just took it up a notch when it came to heaviness. Mm-hmm. They were just a little bit heavier. Mm-hmm. I don't know if it was a tone or what. But that was like the first, okay, I really like this. And like, what is it called? It's metal. I'm like, okay. And then now, look at this world. I'm like, holy shit. So like, there's so much. I was like, where do I start?
Did you take to metal pretty easily or quickly?
No, I didn't even. I thought it was just a bunch of noise.
Really?
Someone, I don't know. I was probably around 6th grade. I guess I don't say he ruined it, but I remember it was like, listen to this, and I just remember hearing like, I was like, what is this? I don't know.
It's kind of funny though now, right?
It is funny now.
Do you remember what it was?
I don't, dude, because I was like, what is this shit? I can't even understand. Like,
yeah.
I can't understand it. What?
Yeah.
I was like, I'm so used to this. I'm used to rap. I'm used to crystal clear, clean vocals.
Yeah.
I'm not used to this, like growling and all this stuff. And plus the music, and like everything just sounds like a wall of sound. what? It sounds like you just throw it in the blender. Like, yeah, here you go. Or for the sake of like being obnoxious. But that was my first initial like, I don't know. I'll also say though, since I grew up in a religious background, I kind of stayed away from it because if I listen to distorted guitars, it's the devil and I'm going to go to hell.
Yeah.
It's not just with my mother, but it was when I grew up, it was just around me all the time.
That is such a heavy racket to put on a kid. I got to tell you real quick, and I want to get back to that religious note, but
For sure.
I remember having MTV, and I couldn't tell you that this was my first metal experience. I don't know. Because I remember like Van Halen and Guns N' Roses and shit like that, but like it never really did anything for me. But I remember staying up late watching MTV, and all the best music videos were played late at night. And Slipknot's Left Behind, that's what it's called, right?
Yes.
That music video played, and there's like a goat, and it's like these dudes in masks, and like it's raining, and it looks like a horror film. I was like, what the motherfuck is this? Like it did feel like satanic. It felt like I shouldn't be watching this.
Yep.
And that turned me on. Like I was like, I'm in. I didn't have that baggage. You know, my mom was like non-existent, but also not really a religious pusher, you know. Still to this day, like she's like, I don't go to church, you know, she doesn't feel guilty about it either. Can you walk me through like the guilt or like the shame of like that religious component and like the taboo-ness of listening to metal and maybe even other things like, you know, some parents I can remember wouldn't let their kids play Pokemon or like read Harry Potter because it's like witchcraft or whatever.
Right.
So like how intense was it?
Just as intense as the experiences that I was going through underneath, you know. See my parents go through divorce, like that kind of same. It felt the same, but in a different way. Now I'm starting to hide things from my parents. This is my,
How old are you?
again, 8, 9, 10, 11. Right now, let's go a little back. 6, 7, anywhere from 6 to 12.
What year did you graduate high school?
2010.
Okay, so there's a 10-year gap between you and your sister.
Yes.
So she graduates in 2000. You have all those influences. The 2000 Britney Spears, NSYNC, whatever, boy band shit at the time.
Yep.
You graduate 2010. So this is like 08, 09, 2010?
Right.
Okay.
So, what were we saying again? So
About the religious baggage
Right.
and like, you know,
Oh.
the divorce and growing up in that environment.
it even though I don't want to say it hindered me. So there was a like, okay, I can't be listening to that, and I was maybe just a little bit brainwashed. Like,
Yeah.
you're actually
felt
listening-
guilty about it.
I felt guilty,
Yeah.
and it was just drilled in my head again. Bless my mom. I love my mom. She, you know, she's come a long way, but at that time, it was just like, no, it's wrong for you, and bad things are gonna happen to you, and you're not gonna be able to sleep, and I don't know what, and it was drilled. And again, I got reminded in going to church, you know, and we would go to church like maybe 2-3 times out of the week, man.
That's intense.
So it was constant all the time. Like, you can't be doing it. You only got to be, if you ever want a chance like to go to heaven, you got to be like this.
I got to ask.
Yeah.
This is like a tangent inside a tangent, but
For sure.
this is why I love podcasting. Why do you think religion was so heavy, like in your household? Like you guys are going through so much, like looking back at it, like you guys are going through so much. What was that about?
Again, this is one where I think now that I look back, you know, it's between both of my parents. They
What does that mean?
which is, I think, leading up to the divorce, it was my mom's choice. So I look back in hindsight, it was all for the better. So at that time, it was like, what are you doing? Why are you doing that? Blah, blah, blah. You're not supposed to do that. Everyone has their parents forever and ever, right? As a kid, I look over here, they have their mom and dad. What about you guys? Why do you guys have to split? I look up, you know, and I'm kind of like, what? Like, what's going on? So, why do you think probably because my mother was seeking a way out, you know.
What does that mean?
She was you know, getting close to leaving my father. So I think
she was
that
like searching for like to get off the hook. Something
no,
like that?
no. Just I think just a different way. She wanted a change for what she knew. She wanted to just better herself in some capacity. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's why there's a religion change. Maybe it's
Because it sounds like pre-divorce that wasn't there.
No, it was there.
It was there.
The intention was there for sure. But I think when she made that transition, like, I'm going to church. It's still God. Like, it's still great, but it's different. Obviously, Catholic and Christian.
So was it Catholic?
No, it was Christianity. That's the...
And so, like, did they really push hell quite a bit?
Oh, yeah. Again, not just my mom, but I guess the church we were going to was very, very heavy on that.
Wow. It was about sin.
Yeah, and Pokemon's the devil. You know Pikachu, like the horns?
Yes.
It's this, so it's the devil, you see? And they're like pinpointing and highlighting like hidden meanings and symbolism, like of how it leads back to the devil when you're gonna go to hell.
And as a kid, did you believe that?
Speaking about Left Behind,
Yes.
there's a cheesy ass fucking Christian movie called Left Behind.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yes.
How fitting.
Kirk Cameron. Yeah.
They played that movie all the time. The Rapture,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
You see, and then the ones that disappear went to heaven. You know, that's
Right.
the second coming of Christ, or whatever. Or
Sure.
or if that's not what it is, or God came down to take all the clean souls, so the ones that stay behind are going to hell. And then, oh, by the way, there's a demon coming after you.
Yep.
And people are like, you see, that's what's gonna happen. So they drilled it like a motherfucker. So I believe it just a little bit, every now and then.
I'm curious, just because we grew up very similarly. Around 2004, like The Passion of the Christ, the movie came out. Did they ever use that as propaganda?
Oh, they pushed it heavily.
Did they?
I remember going as a community, as a church. Like, we're gonna all 50 of us, we're gonna go to this theater and we're gonna watch Passion of the Christ.
Yeah.
And then and of course, like, okay,
That's so heavy. You're like 12 at that time.
yes,
That's so heavy. I wouldn't let my 9-year-old watch that. Are you kidding me?
it's speaking about it's so heavy. Hence, you hear the sound on redefined landscape, and it's fucking heavy. But anyways,
Yes.
anyways,
Yes.
but
We'll get there.
we'll get there. So yeah, again, I just want to clarify the whole, like, my mom, you know, this whole religion thing.
Yes.
I think it just it helped her to kind of just
Because it's coming from your mom, not so much your dad.
right.
Yeah.
It's my mom just wanted to change, and she wanted something different.
And you're growing up with like basically a single mom, so she's your fucking mom. Like that's where
Yeah.
you're getting your information from.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, like, all right. And of course, when I'm like, why are you doing this? And I look back like, oh, I get it now. Like, again, it's not an excuse to leave my father. It's just, I guess when she started to become that, and, you know, which is great for her. And I love her for that now more so than ever, because it plays a role in me as well. Not so much being a Christian, but a spiritual being, you know, to seek something out there, or, you know, whatever. And I think she changed into her own person. And I remember seeing her like, man, my mom's starting to just, it's different. It's not the same. Still my mom, but different. And of course, and I think that's what led to the split, which is, you got my father that's here. He is what he is. That's what he does. And then my mother's just like, she's growing.
Mm-hmm.
And me, from here, I was like, that's not growing. That's going the other way. But it's still something, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm
Progress.
yeah, progress. And she was finding her own way. So I think when she got to a certain level, a certain amount of, she was like, you know what? If my spouse can't agree with it, there's a bunch of disagreement, like, I got to go. Oh, and by the way, my kids are seeing this. Cut it out.
Yeah.
You know? So good job on her. Great.
Religion was like an answer.
Yes.
So we have family that, I think it's okay to say,
Yeah.
it is what it is. We have family that did time inside
Sure.
jail,
Yeah.
and they came out, and I think they found God there, you know. And so
Yeah.
when you're coming out of a traumatic event, like, you find God, right? And
Yes.
so it sounds like that's what your mom did, to not escape, but to find something, a higher purpose, a meaning larger than herself, to get connected to something. You know, that was her personal development at the time. And so, but with it came, we all know how Christianity works. With it comes a lot of, I'll just say, propaganda and negativity, especially on a child. It's just too gnarly. I never push religion on my kids. And like my daughter, I let her kind of come up with it herself. Like, I think she believes in a heaven. It sounds like nice to believe in. But we don't talk about hell. We don't talk about you're a sinner and this is bad. And if you watch that, you're going to hell. Like, never. Like, I as an adult, I don't even know if I care about that, you know? But to put that on a child, and during your formative years, you're discovering music, you're going from hip hop to metal, new metal, like this new fusion and what was going on at the time. Metal is like overtly so anti-Christian in a way. Like it's so like, you know, me, one of my biggest influences as a kid was Marilyn Manson. That guy was not shy about he was not shy about like the imagery.
Yeah.
I mean, he has a record called Antichrist Superstar. And so did you feel guilty? Like,
No, once anger started to build up, I needed to find something more heavier. I needed, okay, Eminem is just as angry. He's great. I always go back to about now I'm getting kind of bored. Like nobody else is angry. And like, yeah, I've heard about this, like the imagery of like stay away from Marilyn Manson. Don't do that. The picture they took together in a concert, they're both throwing the fingers. Love that picture.
yeah.
And I was like, oh, that's so fitting. I'm like, Eminem and Marilyn Manson?
Yeah.
Oh man, like
That really pisses off parents.
oh my god, especially at that time.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, if Eminem is like friends with him, like, oh, let me go peek in that world a little bit, you know. So okay, even though it did hinder me and I didn't want, okay, this is the devil, this and that, now I'm starting to rebel. Like, or like, you know, now I'm starting like, okay, don't listen to that. Oh, no problem. You know, and I go to my room and then out comes System of a Down and I'm over here like Slipknot and I'm cranking it to 10, you know, and I'm just like, I'm here. Okay, now I'm giving the chance like, oh, now I'm starting to sound this noise. It's so heavy, you know, and now we're getting into like heavy territory. But again, it's because now I'm rebelling, like saying, fuck you. You know what I mean? Like you're like, it's real. When you tell someone you can't be doing it, it messes with you. And like, no, you know, and especially when you're a kid. So that's where System of a Down comes in. And again, all these hits around that time, new metal is about to die already.
Yeah.
This is 2003, 2004, 2005. It's like, Now this is where the new American wave of heavy metal. This is the underground starting to come up. Like, this is Shadows Fall. This is
Avenged Sevenfold.
Avenged Sevenfold, Kill Switch Engage,
Yeah.
Lamb of God.
Lamb of God. I wanted to get to that.
And that's where I'm like, oh, okay, you know, and I discovered that by the chance of downloading illegally, but which is Napster, LimeWire, and Aries.
Yeah.
I can't tell you like how, I didn't even know when I was downloading stuff, and the times that the internet wasn't paid off. I'll go to the backyard to pick up my neighbor's internet, and I'd be in the corner, and I'm like, okay, you only have an hour to download. You know,
How old are you?
13, 14, 15.
What a crackhead.
Yeah. And I was like, I need my rebellion. You know, I need my fix. Like I needed. Because I can't hear it in the household. I can't have that around me. I can't blast it in my room and be free. I can't look at these pictures, you know?
Yeah.
Like the iconic, like, you know, picture of the wall. Like, oh, it's Arnold Schwarzenegger. I want to be big like that. You know?
Yeah.
That kind of, like, boy dream or whatever.
Yeah, you couldn't have heroes on the wall.
Right.
Those are false idols.
Right. And so the less I was like, okay, well, then I'm going to go find it. I'm rebelling and I'm hiding it from the household, right? And I can't be doing that. So yeah, I would go on there and everyone popped up, you know, again, Kill Switch, like Shadows Fall, and I'm hearing like, oh, like
Shadows Fall. Totally forgot about them.
they're part of that class.
Yeah.
That wave of like, okay, we're done with the grunge and this fucking new metal shit.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that, but
Right.
for
that was probably their reaction. Their response
Right.
was like, we're doing something else.
Right.
It's kind of a throwback to like 80s metal. Almost.
Yes.
Like
Oh, yeah.
Metallica, whatever, Black Sabbath, whatever.
going against the 80s glam metal.
Right.
It's like, yeah, it's metal, but that's not the metal. Like, what are you talking about? Then you have Megadeth, like, okay, Slayer, like, oh,
Yeah.
okay, this is true metal, right? And
Yeah.
of course. So you cycle that around. Another 20 years later, it comes back, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Like, okay, Nirvana, like, all that's gone. Grunge, new metal. Now we're getting into this underground, like, we're coming back to show you what, like, now this is a new Metallica, a new Megadeth, a new Slayer, a new Anthrax. The big four horse. Like, now you have, like, whoa. and now you have hardcore, and now you have punk hardcore, punk metal. You know, you have grindcore, like, you know,
death metal.
Death metal. Well, maybe 90s. You got Cannibal Corpse in there.
Yeah.
But now it's starting to be more. They're starting to embrace that, you know. So so I would download, and sure enough, I came across Lamb of God when I was downloading LimeWire, and I didn't know what I was getting. I remember seeing Lamb of God, like, that's metal. I'm like, oh. So you're telling me a band out there is named Lamb of God, or they used to be called Burn the Priest.
Yeah.
So that tells you everything.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, Burn the Priest. Oh, some fucking, this is metal. I'm like, oh, Burn the Priest, Lamb of God. Okay, Lamb of God. So somebody can put the word God in there and still be metal.
Yeah.
I was like, how rebellious is that? Yeah, let me check that out. And I would download it, and it almost like instant first, like, couple seconds or couple minutes captivated, drew me into it.
Yeah.
And the first thing I noticed was Chris Adler's drumming. It just stuck to me. And okay, I'm angry, I'm rebellious, I'm trying to figure this religion, I'm struggling underneath, I'm isolating myself, now I'm not hanging out with my friends, now I'm becoming this, like, kind of loner and loser. But then I remember, wait, you do like to play the drums, right? So now I'm starting to merge. I'm like, yeah. So now I'm starting to, like, oh, it feels so good not to feel repressed and not have tension, because now I'm thinking about the drums that this guy's providing. And I think the first one was called Black Label, which is the first song. And I remember it just starts off dun 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 da 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 dun 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 da da. And I was like, that snare sounds so cool, like pingy pop, like so pingy punk, like, so it's just, you can't miss it. And of course the drums come in, the song kicks in, and then you have double bass, and just the way he was orchestrating, I was like, whoa. The bell of the ride, and there's just one weird sound. I for the longest time I never knew what it was called, and it was a certain symbol. It's called a flanger bell, which sounds like a car crash. Sounds kind of not like a China trash, like, gong or anything like that. Just, it's quick and it's shiny, and it, like, there's a crash. I don't know. It's an effect symbol, and I'm like, man, that's so cool. I never heard that. And so that took over my world. Lamb of God. Once I got that, now I'm going from their first album, skipping all the way. So it's 2005. Sacrament is already out. Yeah. So now I go back to, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now I'm jumping from the first record to the fourth record to the second to the fourth back again. You know, I didn't know what I was getting. So I'm all over the place. I'm like, oh, okay, these guys have been around. Oh, okay. Redneck just came out. You know. Okay, cool. Well, let's go back before. Like, what was it? Oh, Laid to Rest. Now you got something to die for, you know? So I'm like, okay, cool. Now I'm making this little playlist. And at the time, this is when CD burning was just about to die. 2005, 2006. This is when Apple iPod, the iPod Nano, maybe that was a little bit later.
Like the OG iPod.
The OG iPod, the fat one, the brick fat.
Which I just have to say, one of my prized possessions, and I want to buy it. I want to buy one just to have it. Is the Zune.
Yeah.
And that was like the alternative for, like.
I was gonna lead into that.
Yes. So, like, I had that, and, like, dude, the fact that you can put all your music in there and stand up comedy and, like, everything, and it was organized by genre, and, like, it was just such a game changer. But we did go from CDs to that. I'm glad you mentioned that.
CDs into MP3s,
yes,
where you can hold 80 songs.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah. MP3 players. That's
MP3
right.
players. So it was there. But CD player, yeah, that was huge. Like, burning all kinds of weird shit and then putting it on a CD, and then that's what it is, and it's all over the place. You know, hence why you got Eminem, and then Lamb of God, and then you got Linkin Park, and then you got, you know, and, well, no, that's a lie. That's still later. But so that was a little era. It's okay. Now we're hitting to the iPod, but Lamb of God, that was huge, influential. First it was the drums with Chris, and then I saw the band as a whole, and they did talk about they talk about religion. I was like, oh, that's what I'm going through. A song called Ruin. If you see that video, it's they're in a church, and Chris is in the back playing the drums, and you see the cross in the back. I'm like, this is so fucking metal. This is telling fuck you to religion, you know, like, and he's doing, and that song Ruin, so cool. Like the just the wood. I was like, man, though that pattern right there. I was like, man, that's so cool. And then the ruined drum fill, there's a break in there. Chris does a little fill and it kicks into the fast part. And so yeah, I was like it was just like this is for me, man. And
So that was like your band,
I was like,
and you discovered them.
yes,
Yeah.
yes. Just by chance of just that's what it was. The LimeWire, Aries, and what was it? There's one more I'm forgetting. Napster,
Napster.
and Kazaa. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think there's a little bit later, maybe. I think there's one more.
There was Morpheus. Do you remember Morpheus?
I never really dug into that one.
Those are the big ones. Kazaa, Morpheus, Napster, LimeWire. Those are the
Okay,
big ones.
but those are the main ones. So and then now we're leading into Pirate Bay and
Pirate
Torrents.
Bay,
This
yeah.
is like 07, 08, 09, you know what I mean? And I
Yeah.
remember, now it's a transition, you know what I mean? Like, okay, Apple was coming out, this and that. So going back to like
High speed internet.
yes.
Yes.
Now there's no more AOL, there's MSN, I think.
Yeah, sure.
Right? There's like little
Roadrunner.
Roadrunner, yes.
Yeah.
Yahoo. Yahoo was pretty big at the time. So yeah, Lamb of God again. That was the next level heavy from going from System of a Down. Well, they're both heavy and they're both in their best, and they're both ways.
Yeah.
But for me, Lamb of God took it to like from 5 and went to 10.
Yeah.
Maybe even 5 to even 11. But again, System is heavy. Lamb of God is heavy, but this is just a different kind of heavy. Like I'm like, oh, and now when I'm hearing this, and I'm like, why does this sound kind of familiar? Oh, they're paying homages to Metallica, Anthrax, Slayers, and the this and who and Hoobity Ha. And then I go back, and now this is starting to be my world,
Yep.
So yeah, and that was the start of like really truly finding a home for metal music,
Yeah.
So and through the drumming again, yeah, huge.
Talk to me about. Did you ever play live shows in high school?
Yes. So
What was your first live show experience? Like, how did that come about?
well, technically it was probably in a church. I don't know if you want to count that.
No,
But, okay.
let's say like with a couple of dudes.
Couple of dudes. So I was in a Christian band called Remain Regardless.
How did that come together?
I
How did they pick you? How did you find these people? You know what I mean? Like, I don't know if I know.
I have a cousin named Awsker as well. Go figure. From my mom's side, from the Sustaita side, and I knew these guys from him. So they graduated together. They're older than me. They graduated in 2006. And
They're my generation then.
yes, and they went to Edinburgh. I forgot what's the name of the school, man. It was like not private school, but anyways. So yeah, man. So I would hang out with him a lot. 2006, 2007, again 2008, 2009. At this point, again, because of life experiences and struggling behind the curtain. Remember now? Okay, now I'm starting to. Even though I did play football, a lot of people, oh, you were a jock in high school because I hung out with them, but I was around them. I was like, well, that's the guy you just play football with. Like, why don't you sit at the table with us, right? But starting in my sophomore year, now I'm starting to isolate myself. Again, I'm being embarrassed. I'm humiliated. I don't want to get asked. And at that time, it was so hard for me to hide my feelings. Like, you can just tell, like, something's up. And I didn't want to be asked, like, hey, man, something's up. And I didn't want to lie and be like, yeah, everything's great. No, I'm dying inside, like, I can't,
Yep.
I didn't want to be asked, like, it was because it was just embarrassing for me, and so I'm starting to isolate myself. Now I'm starting to, in a weird way too, in a full circle. You know how I said I went to art? Yeah. I got into, in my senior year, junior and senior years, I got into theaters, acting. And now I'm starting to be part of that world. It's a weird, like, going from this football jock to this, like, emo band geek stuff, or whatever you call it. And now I'm around that, and I'm like, oh, this is where I should have been, and so the reason why I bring that up, isolation, and now I'm starting to I'm starting to pick and choose like who are my friends now, who I thought it was or whatever. I got to experience that through my cousin's friends, which is who are now my brothers, which became Remain Regardless, Javi, Roy, and Alex. So I was around them, and I just loved their company, man. I loved, like, even though they were older than me, it felt like, oh, they're into metal music too, and oh man, like they're not even. They look so happy, and it was just so cool. Like there was this brotherly love, and there's sarcasm, and there's I don't know, just they're like my big brothers that I've never had because I don't have a big brother. So I just love their company, and I somehow sneak my way into them without. It's the only way I would hang out with them was through my cousin Awsker. When they were around, it's like, hey, let's go to the beach or whatever. We're gonna go hang out with him. We're gonna hang out with that. And it just so happened that Javi was in the church setting as well. I discovered him through church. So we crossed in a way. He's like, hey, aren't you Oscar's cousin? I'm like, yeah, you're Javi, right? Like, yeah. So we met at a church. He's like, hey, man, we should do something sometime. He's like, I know 2 other guys. And I was like, hey, these are my, I was like, you're friends with him too? Like Javi and Roy. He's like, yeah. And so I met Javi through a church setting. And
Did you know he was a musician?
no, until I walked into a church, right? And I'm like, hey, it's that guy. Like my cousin Oscar was hanging out. That's his friend.
Right.
But then it was like, he's like, whoa, like, aren't you little Oscar's cousin? I'm like, yeah. And he's like, oh, so we played together in church. He played the guitar and he could sing, and I played the drums. And he's like, oh, this is so cool. He's like, I never knew that about you, man. He's like, I have 2 other guys that can play. That I know, a guitarist and a bassist. It's just something. And it almost quick and instant. My first gig, going back to like, geez, I don't even know if they have these anymore. At a Peter Piper lock-in.
Wow.
In Westaco, Texas.
Peter Piper Pizza.
Peter Piper Pizza.
A lock-in, an overnight.
Overnight lock-in.
Yeah.
That was my first gig. I think I want to say. Yeah. And it was Halloween theme, and this is my senior year. And so we get together the week before. We're hanging out, and we're like, oh, this is Oscar's cousin. He plays the drums, whatever. And again, at this point, I'm not even thinking about joining this band. We're all just talking. But Javi initiates it. He's like, yo, we played together at church. I want to see if we can try to do like 4 or 5 songs. Again, church community wise, church songs, praise Jesus songs, and let's play. He's like, oh, and by the way, we play this Friday. And I'm like, what? He's like, what are you talking about? I was like, I haven't even practiced. He's like, no, man, like, he's like, the same songs we played in church, we're gonna just do the same thing. So don't worry, the only difference now, there's just two more players. By the way, we're gonna be called, I don't know. So Roy's initials are RR. Mm-hmm. So he just took that upon himself. He's like, well, remain regardless. He's like, why that?
Yeah.
Regardless of what remains? Well, I think there's a scripture in the Bible, remain in me and I'll remain in you, or something like that. Yeah. Like Corinthians or Deuteronomy, I don't know.
Yeah.
Or no matter what, if you stick with Jesus, like, he's got your back. That was the message of the band.
Yeah.
So no matter, even if you rebel, Jesus will be there to hug you and like forgive you, right? Yeah. And it's a good message. Like, yeah, okay, like, yeah. I was like, I can get by that. I like that. Or maybe you might understand, or maybe you're sinning or whatever, but you can always forgive yourself.
So it was a Christian band.
It was a Christian band.
Your first band.
Yep. Thematic, Jesus, all Jesus. Like, save my life. I praise I give my life to Jesus. Everything. Yeah. So in the Christian world, right? So that was my first band, and a Christian band. And I didn't mind it, even though I was this whole rebel thing phase. I'm like, yeah, but I get to play the drums.
Yeah.
And that was, no matter what, I was like, I don't want, like, this is contradicting. I'm over here saying screw religion. Now I'm in a religious band. Like, yeah. And it did kind of like, I had to think a little bit. Like, it was like a push pull. Like, that sounds very hypocrite of you. I was like, yeah, but you can play the drums. isn't that what you want to do? And it makes you smile, it makes you happy. And I'm like, yeah. Okay, so let's do it. So that was my first gig, and in wrestling terms, green as shit.
Yeah.
Green all over, just pocket all the way, basic, nothing flashy. There's no fills whatsoever. Beat, crash, or beat, verse, chorus, maybe the ride instead of the hi-hat, and then, the crashes when it gets loud for chorus. That's it.
Yeah.
None of this, nothing. No, nothing. I didn't have the vocabulary yet. So, but it was really cool to get the chops, like, yeah, but you're the one holding the backbeat, whatever. So that was my first get at a Peter Piper lock-in.
What was the arc of Remain Regardless? Like, how many shows did you guys get together? Did you guys ever write original songs? Like, what was the arc?
So we quickly found out that we liked, everyone's like, oh, we're in a band, right? At the time, Alex, he had a space to practice in. So we would go over there a lot and practice. Once we got the whole, like, the songs all the way, like, okay, let's make our songs. So Javi already had a little demo out there that he had originals from him. So he already had 3, and then we made 2 other ones on top of that little EP. So yeah, we got together and we would go and we have our own originals, which, by the way, it's only out there in CD format. There's probably maybe like 100 to 150 copies.
Wow.
Somebody out there, somebody has it. I know Javi has the original copy.
Well, you got to get a copy if you don't have one.
Right. I know. And I've always told him, like, I want to put it on Spotify. Just do it.
Yeah.
But it's not just me, it's them as well.
Right.
So it's hard. But so we would practice a lot over at Alex's house, and that's where I got all my chops. Now I'm starting getting the reps. Now I'm starting to be part of the band. Now I'm around something I wanted to do when I was a little kid. When I was 8, 6, 7, 8, again, growing up in a church setting and seeing those drums, I'm like, oh, now I'm in this position now. Yeah, maybe you have the religion like message, but you're just still doing it, So, once we got our 5 originals, let's go record it. Pocket Sunshine Studios somewhere in Mercedes, I think. I don't know, maybe Mercedes. I don't know, some garage. And this is my senior year in April of 2010. So I'm about to graduate. What an experience.
Yeah.
It was almost like overnight in a way. So my first gig happened in 2009 of Halloween, I think. And then, 6 months later, I'm already like in the studio with headphones, a live drum kit. Oh, and by the way, you have guitars on this side and you have a metronome going bing, dong, 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 ding, dong. I'm like, what the fuck? I'm like, they're like, yeah, you'll be fine. Just play the wheel. And, oh man, I messed up a lot. But once I got into the groove, I figured it out, whatever. So that was our first little EP, 5 songs. I don't remember the names of them, but once I see it, I'm like, oh yeah, these were it.
Wow.
So when you ask, like, okay, where did it stem from? Where did it go? Once we released the EP, we did like a valued little tour.
Wow.
Yeah, a little, like, we would play in churches. We play in like little mini festivals, retreats. That's what they call retreats.
Yeah.
The Christian community. Little festivals outside, all hail Jesus or whatever, and like come praise Jesus and go. And we were one out of like 10 bands. A lot of people would play. Local small gigs, playing in front of 12 people. Like, okay, today we have Remain Regardless. It's a worship group. If you're going through life, blah, 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 just close your eyes and give yourself to Jesus. Welcome to Remain Regardless, right? And we're just playing. That was our thing.
Wow.
So I want to say from late summer. No, yeah, summer, yeah. Starting from the summer. So once I got out of high school, that's all I did was just gig.
Yeah.
Every week or every 2 weeks, I would have a gig. Somehow, I don't even know how they got booked, man. But I guess there was a scene for it. It wasn't just us. It was like other bands, or other people that were doing the same thing as well. And I guess there was a call for it. They needed a band. They needed a band to represent God and our Lord and Savior, to help these kids. Yeah. I know it sounds a little funny, but I mean, I look back, I was like, oh yeah, I get it now.
Yeah,
I get it. And some of the songs they're really good and they're catchy. I get it. But so yeah, and like, how? Why not get some music together to bring us even closer to God, to power of music? You know, close your eyes and can't you just feel His energy and spirit and all this stuff? Which I do believe, and it's great. So yeah, so we from the late summer, we played at South Padre Island. Called it was the name of the festival was called Island of Praise.
Wow.
Bunch of Christian bands. We were playing on stage, and there's a pool in the background. Which, by the way, there's a Facebook page, and there's a bunch of pictures all there. You can see it all there.
What's the name of the page?
Remain Regardless on
Wow.
Facebook. You can see all the archive from
Okay.
my green, vulnerable, like stupid, young-looking self.
Yeah, sure.
Trying to fit in with older dudes, you know. And I'll get it. There's a point I'm trying to get to here, but yeah, it's all there. So thank God, something to look back on. And so yeah, every week or every other week there was a gig. So sometimes, at this point I already had my drum set, so it was pretty good. But every now and then, for whatever reason, again I was struggling behind the curtain, so my drum set was over here and I didn't have access to it. Well, use the kit that they have, and it was always shitty.
Yeah.
The legs weren't long enough to touch the ground. The cymbal stand would wiggle even if you just the slightest hit. Like it wasn't even sturdy. Oh, by the way, the rack tom, like it's tuned lower than the floor tom, and I'm just like, that's not right. Yeah. Oh, by the way, you can't fix and set up because you go live in 8 minutes. Just, you know, do you have sticks? You know, so
yeah,
that was part of my little journey. So yeah, there was like a good 6 long month tour up until 2011, and that's all I did.
And then how did it end? How'd you guys stop? Why did you guys stop? Was there any heat?
No. And again, this is another, again, I was struggling behind the scenes a lot. So I'm starting to get embarrassed again. I'm going back to something. I'm like, man, this never really got better, man. You know, which I will say, thank God they kept me around. I just, now I'm starting, this is post high school. What are you going to do?
Yeah.
Are you going to go to college? Oh, it's great that you're playing the drums with the band, but are you going to go to college? You know, that was never a thing to be proud of.
Sure.
You know, that wasn't a thing to be pushed on. It was never, nobody shined the light saying, yeah, keep doing that, you know?
Yeah.
No, it's like, and of course, life is life, of course, but this was like, well, either you go to college or you go to get a job and pay the bills.
That's right. Those were the only options.
Those were only options. That's it. So which one are you going to do? Are you going to go to college and go to school, or are you going to get a job and pay bills?
Yeah.
Which one is it? Or do both. Go to college and work, you know, and still pay bills. So, again, we struggled financially, so I had to step up. So I got a job at Kmart on
What year is this?
2011.
Okay.
So this was after the tour.
Yeah, after the tour, after graduating high school.
After graduating high school, Remain Regardless, went on the tour, EP, I'm active playing the drums. Cool. Now 2011 comes around, I have to step up. Now I have to feel like, okay, I'm 18, okay. My mother's like, not necessarily you can do whatever you want, but he's like, I know you're growing up, but you got to do something for yourself, you know, like, come on, right? And I'm like, okay. So there I am doing my best, man. And so at that point, this was what, 2011. There was a gap from 2008, 9, 10, 11, 4-year gap where I was bouncing from home to home. There was not one home to go to. So
with your whole family?
Right.
Okay.
So 2008 was the last time I saw my first home in a trailer home in Donna. So after that, I have lived over here, lived in Far, lived in Edinburgh, lived in McAllen, lived over here, back over here, stayed in my mom's friend's room. So that was another like, oh man, like what an escape.
You weren't stable.
No.
To do anything.
No.
Even if you were going to college, and where are you going to study? Where are you going to do your homework?
Where's my privacy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where's your privacy? Yeah,
So,
you didn't have that stability.
I didn't have a car.
For 4 years?
4 years.
Wow.
And again, that's where the whole rebellion and metal and all this stuff comes to the picture, because that was my escape, or like to identify like or whatever, and finding other people outside of high school. I there's maybe like 2 people out of everybody that I thought were my friends in high school that I barely even talked to.
Yeah.
And usually it's always like, oh, I've kept some of my high school, like from high school.
Yeah.
And I kind of envy that, man. Those people, like, I've always looked at you, man, when you had your gang and crew.
Yeah.
I was like, did I miss out on that? Like, was I too, like, just saying fuck you to the world? Like, no, man. Like, it was just tough. Like, and yeah, so it was tough.
Well, look,
man.
let me make this clear. So, at the time, I'm gonna name them. There was Cookie, there was RJ, there was Pogo, there was Serge, there was Mo. Throw Dave in there. Throw Guillen in there. Throw Juno in there. Like, and if I forgot anybody, I'm sorry. I'm on a live podcast. Where does everybody hang out? They hang out at my crib.
Yes.
And my mom has a crib to hang out in. You know, that's why that shit was able to live and thrive, and that's why we were able to do wrestling matches or film sketches, or we had a place to go. And so I would say don't be too hard on yourself or whatever, or get yourself off the hook, because you need that stability. I had the stability.
Yeah.
And you need it to be able to maintain relationships.
Yes.
Maintain sanity.
Yes.
Maintain certainty.
I missed out on a lot of stuff, especially like relationships, man. Like, I mean, I know real quick, I have to, like, it sounds like, oh, boo-hoo, like, no, but I missed out. Like, okay, for example, like, say a girl liked me, right? And I knew about it. Oh, by the way, she's gonna be at the house party. And they're going like this. Hey, she's gonna be there. And I'm like, this is so cool. But I don't know how to ride there. And I'm thinking about it's like, I'm not going. Sure enough, I don't go. Dude, like, she was waiting for you. She got drunk. Oh my, I missed out on a lot of that,
Sure.
And it maybe just wasn't about the girl, but I missed out on
it's experiences.
Yes. And I'm like, oh man. And of course, I tried reaching out back, but it's already too late. The girl's already moved on or whatever. So I'm like, okay. So
And that's just one example of probably like 100 times.
Right. One example of those little things. And like, I was like, man. So, okay, I got to move on. And so yeah, it was another. So what happened then? I left. I started to work. They kept on going.
The band
a little bit, but it wasn't the same because I know it wasn't there.
Yeah.
Because they would tell me like, dude, it's not the same without you, man. Like, and I was like, I know, man. I was like, I mainly Javi. He's one of my closest brothers.
So because that stability wasn't there, and your mom kind of gave you like the talk of like, hey, I need you to start doing stuff, whatever. You didn't have time for the band anymore. Is that right. What's going on?
Right.
So
or I'm uneasy with myself being around them because I'm hurting. I'm in pain.
You were in pain.
Yes.
2011 with the band, what would have got you out of the pain at the time? Like what was the fix?
A place to stay and call home.
Yeah.
Just something that's reliable. That's it. I don't care how it looks. It could be, step on the floor and it creaks. I don't care. I just need a place. I know this. When I'm done, I'm going home. I'm going to this place. The idea of
place that has your stuff.
Right. Not like it's in a storage. Where's my stuff? Where are your memories? Like I don't know. I left it in that other house. Whatever.
So how did you make it through that?
Well,
and how long did that last?
Not very long, man. I remember I did so I started to work. So that was cool. I'm starting to make my own money now. I'm like, I can buy myself Whataburger now.
Yeah.
I don't have to worry about food stamps. I don't know. It just,
for sure.
It's stupid, right? But
what was your job?
Kmart. So I was Kmart on 23rd Street. 23rd
in McAllen.
In McAllen.
The Rio Grande Valley, yeah.
Yes. And now it's a Spectrum, which is, I passed by, I'm like, what the fuck?
That's funny.
By the way, this was big Kmart or super Kmart, because there's one off the expressway, which is gone now.
Which is funny because Kmart's dead, right?
It's dead. It's
abandoned. So at the time, that was like the last one.
That was the last dying one.
Yeah.
Yes. So how did I deal with it? So, okay. I was like, oh, this sucks, man. But I was like, but I'm making my own money. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. Get yourself a car. Okay, cool. So I go to this lot, and I get my first car, 1996 Chevy Illumina, $2,000. That's what it cost. It was $200 a month. So I paid it off in what, 10 months?
Yeah.
So yeah, and
20 months? 10 months?
oh yeah, I'm sorry. 20 times, yeah, right.
20 times 200 is 2,000?
Yeah, is it?
Yeah. I'm going to say yes.
Yeah, yeah.
So call it 2 years. Whatever.
It's 10 months. No, it's less than a year. So
10
100 times 10 is 1,000.
You're right. You were right the first time. I'm a fucking dumbass.
It's all good. So there was that. So yeah. Got the car. Now I'm started like experience. Okay, I have a little bit of freedom.
Yeah.
I can escape now. I can go for a drive.
Where are you living?
At this point, I was living in Alamo, and I forget. I was living in a room with my mom's friend, and I think that was my breaking point.
Why?
I had enough. Like I couldn't anymore. I was also growing. I was getting older, not older, but I was like,
You were a man at that point.
my own man. I'm starting to become my own man. I'm starting to be out there. Got a job, got a car. By the way, when I get back, I'm like, it's not even a home. Like now I feel uncomfortable even being there because what the fuck? Like it just, I don't know. There's no privacy. If I wanted to bring a girl over, there's no such thing. There's no way, you know. So, and let alone even invite anybody. Like, I don't know. There's no way. I would always have to lie and be like, oh, I'm over here with my cousin, you know, whatever.
Sure.
But that's what it was. So, yeah. So, I don't know. Maybe summer happened, and I did like a little reunion tour in the summer of 2011. I remember getting out of Kmart, and they're like, dude, we have a gig in 30 minutes. What time do you get out? I was like, oh, I get off at 3. Like, what time is it? What time does we start? At 4:30. He's like, can you make it? By the way, they're like in Edinburgh. No, wait. They're in Mercedes, and I'm over here in McAllen. I'm like, that's kind of a lengthy drive. I was like, with traffic. I was like, so I'll do my best. And I'm like, so I get there. I literally get off Kmart clothes, put on some like whatever, and the band is already playing. It was like a song in, and I remember just pulling up, and I just sat on the kid, and I just started playing, and everyone was like, it's about time you showed up. And I was like, I'm sorry, dude, like, let's just play, you know. So that was a little good, like,
That's crazy.
that was a good, like, oh my god, it restored my soul. It really did.
That is crazy.
So, but did played a couple shows here and there, and then again, that's it. I disbanded. I was like, I can't do it. I can't at this point.
Because you didn't have the certainty at home.
So I moved from Alamo, Texas, and I moved back with my. After all these years being with my mom, I moved with my father / our grandma.
Yeah.
At the time, so yeah, and that only lasted 2011. So I was there for a year and a half, and that helped a lot.
Yeah.
Grandma's house did not go anywhere. Wow.
Yeah.
You know, like, it was like, oh my god, I know, not the best
At the time, and maybe I'll cut this out because I don't know who would care, but
Sure.
At the time, your dad was living there,
Yes.
and grandma was still alive, obviously. So,
Yes.
it was just them two.
I want to think my dad's girlfriend would come over at the time. Wally, Celia,
Yeah. Oh, they were living there.
I think, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, shout out to them. I wasn't exactly sure, you know.
No, they were there. Yeah.
I have to say this. I have to put this on
It's cool.
the record.
It's all love.
I have to say this, like, I've learned a very valuable lesson, and that's if you want to know how someone's doing, go over to their house and see how they're doing. That's the best way. See how they're doing. And even if you ask them, how you doing? Good. If you have any doubt, go check and see how they're doing, because they might not be doing okay. I just, at the time, 2011, 2012, and even like before that, when you were in high school, I had no idea how you were doing, and that it was so uncertain and so unstable.
Yeah.
And if I did, I would have been like, you're living with us, like, easily. Right. It doesn't matter now. Like, what an empty gesture today.
Although
say that.
I will say this is we've been 15 years, 2008 to 2023. Yeah.
Okay, is that 15? God dang.
So 2008, it did feel like that. Remember that one week in
Yeah,
December?
of course.
So
there was a week in 2008, Metal Gear Solid 4 came out, and you hung out at our crib for like a week. But like,
No, I'm talking about towards the end of the year. Wrestler. You
oh,
watch
oh,
wrestler.
that to,
one.
like going into New Year's.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, so that's been 15 years?
Yeah.
That's crazy, man.
And it's December. So.
And it is December, so it's been 15 years. We watched Superbad as well. Yeah. At my mom's house, and like, I just really just took life for granted, I think, in that I just had no idea how you were doing. And so when I hear this now and I hear it on the pod, like, it's a little, for me, it gives me pain, like, that if I knew, I could have helped, you know? And so it just sucks. It just sucks to hear that, you know, that certainty wasn't there. But then you get to 2011, 2012, and then grandma has some space.
Oh yeah, it has some space in the back. It's called the man cave, the shed. You know, the room.
It's got a lot of history in that little. It's a room outside the house in the back, and it's probably as big as this room.
Yes,
you know.
Yes.
Maybe including the bathroom. So it's not. You know, families used to live in there.
Yeah, and so I kind of just took over that, you know, and it was my little space, and it was like, for once, I have a room. I had like 2008, it's been 4 or 5 years since I've had a room by myself, and now I'm starting to feel more comfortable. I'm starting to, okay, you know, and so, but yeah, but that I only lived for what 2011 of August
to January
of 2013.
Yeah,
a year and 4 months, 5 months.
And then you decided to move
to Austin.
Yes. Okay, so
2012.
Now that you've painted this whole picture for me of like what your journey looked like and the struggle.
Yeah.
Why'd you move to Austin? Because that's just more challenge and more struggle and more uncertainty, and like in a place where you have no connections, no family.
Well,
I mean, I was there, but you know, I didn't know that you were in Austin for a while. So, and I could only do so much, but like the balls to move to Austin, like why?
So it stems from,
you're like 20 at this age.
Yes, I am 20, and I visited first time in October of 2012.
Yeah.
I went there with the bandmates, Hobby and Roy, I think, or maybe it was Hobby, Roy, and Alex. Yeah. So Roy made the move already.
I see.
He made the move. I forgot what reasons or what. We went to go visit him, and then we went out to go see Austin. And that was my first time ever leaving anywhere, going anywhere of anything. Like, well, maybe when I was a kid, going to Corpus Christi to see the aquarium, or San Antonio and see the Alamo, whatever. But never to Austin. So, and I think when I was a little kid, I felt it was 3rd, 4th, and 5th graders that whoever went to Austin, like, you're the cool kid.
Right.
People were like, okay, 4th graders, you're going to Corpus Christi, and 5th grade. By the way, you signed this waiver saying that you, right? You remember that?
Sure.
And I was like, each and every year, it always like, and when I was in 3rd grade, okay, you're going to San Antonio. And when I was 4th grade, you're going to Corpus Christi. And then in 5th grade, going back to San Antonio, I was like, I want to go to Austin, right?
Yeah.
Anyways, so it stems from that. We go visit Roy. He's really living there, and yeah, and it just it's different now. But we go down 6th Street, and I've seen all kinds of live music, and I'm like, this is just casual, and it's just happening. Like, you know, it's not in the valley or whatever. Maybe it was, but maybe it died out, or maybe I wasn't involved. But there was a certain vibrance in the air. I'm like, whoa, the air's different, the atmosphere, the people. Now there's different kinds of people. It's not just, even though I love my race. There's not just Mexicans. There's white people, black people. There's Indians. There's Russians. There's everything, diversity. So it's new to me. I'm like, whoa, you know. And I was like, this is so cool. So that was there. Visited, cool.
This is October 2012.
Yes. So from 2012 to that January, that 2-month gap, maybe a little bit before, leading up to like go visiting Roy, which is the bass player for Remain Regardless. He would always like not bug me, but I would be like, hey man, come check it out. Come stay with me for 2 weeks.
Did he know your situation? You kept it pretty.
Yeah, no, he didn't.
You
but
didn't really like want to talk about it.
right. So
Your living situation, I mean.
right, but at this time, I was working at Kmart. I already had my own place, so I was a little bit better than before.
Yeah.
At this point,
Yeah.
he's like, so it's everything now. Things are starting to get okay. It's not bad. I have my own car. You know, not the best, but I have one. So he's like, come on, go check it out. He's like, if it's too much for you and you can't find a job, just go back, whatever. And I was like, I don't know, man. I got this Kmart thing going on. I got a car. I got a place for once. And I don't know, man. And I think maybe November, December, he's like, come on, man. Come on. Just check it out. I was like, okay. And at this point, I already had left Kmart maybe by the summer. So I was a little jobless for that time. And I mean, what can I say? That was like my first wave of depression that I've ever had. Because
Really?
yeah, this is when this is when drinking starts to come in for the first time ever. So that took its life in its own just because I just finished Kmart and I wanted to go. I didn't know what to do. By the way, I don't have anybody else to talk to or whatever. I mean, I know I'm always in the background. I'll always go visit you and hang out with the boys or something, which were huge. Nuggets Monte, right?
course, yeah.
Those were great. But now I just felt like, what now? Like, okay, and I'm like, but don't you want your own place? Like, okay, so if I have to get another job if I want my own apartment. And I was like,
I have to ask. So
Yeah.
you said this is the first time that you were like hit with like this wave of depression. What triggered that? Was it leaving Kmart?
Yes and no. Yes.
And then not necessarily having that money come in, or
No, I guess because I feel like at this point, like I'm already past like high school, you know, meaning like high school friends. Like I feel like I couldn't go back to that. I knew like I already been away for so long from them in the public that when I go back, it's not gonna be there. And I found out really quickly. I would reach up to some guys and like, hey man, let's go to the club. I was like, I don't do that, dude. Like that's not my scene, man. Like if you do clubs, that's great, but I'm not going to 17th Street in McAllen. Like hey, like if you like it, man, cool. But I was like, I knew I shouldn't have reached out. So now I'm trying to find someone like me, you know, in a way. I mean, I did have Javi, Roy, and Alex, but Roy was already gone. Javi and Alex, but I think now they started to.
so there's like an isolation.
Yes, isolation thing, you know, and now I'm starting. I mean, of course, thank God for YouTube. I'll go down so many YouTube wormholes, and yeah, I mean, there was nothing else to do but to drink. So yeah, it gradually grew, whatever. Had my moments. Experienced it for the first time. Like, okay, if you do too much, you get like this, and you woke up hungover and all that. Okay, and I was like, oh, now my limits. Okay, you can only have 4 or 5, because after that, then it's not good. Okay, so you know, I'm experiencing, like, it was my first time. So once I started to get, I was like, man, like, can I go try this out? You know, I was like, I got nothing else. What is there to do? What is there? I was like, man, you already started drinking, which I don't regret it. But I was like, at the time, I was like, you shouldn't have done that. But it was my way to cope. But I was like, and I kind of hyped myself up. Like I told myself, like, dude, if you go and it doesn't work out, it's all good. Just come back. Like you got the place. Like that's the whole point.
Yeah.
How else are you gonna know? And I just started looking into it, and I guess once I got there, I just tried it out. Again, I went with no job, you know. So the idea and the intention wasn't I'm gonna go live over there, you know. If anything, I was like, you know what? If I like the visit there the first time, let me go breathe that air. Let me refresh myself. Let me collect myself, and then now, and then come back and then figure it out. Maybe something will hit me, right? It didn't take that long. Within 3 weeks, I got a job at UPS, and I'm staying with Roy. So,
And Roy, you know, former bandmate, was like, come give it a shot with me. Did he give you like a timeline?
no, I think at first,
Because that's a real cool friend
yeah,
to extend that. Not a lot of people would do that.
different timing. It was different timing. He was a different place, and I didn't even know why. Even the first reason he moved up, but he made the move. So kudos to him. So he kind of paved that wave in a way. Like,
Yeah.
at least I knew a connection. Oh, and by the way, I played in a band with him.
Yeah.
How cool was that? So there was a little bit like, hey man, it's been 2 weeks. Like, you got anything? What's up? I'm like, I was like, I got an interview. Like, okay, cool. He's like, I think at that time, it was just like, hey, as long as you pay XXX, we could do this however long we want. So once the money started to come in, I was like, hey man, here's the light. Here's the rent, and whatever.
Sure.
He's like, hey man, can you? I was like, yeah, here, of course. So that was for what, 6 months, from January to June. No, January to July. So that was a good 6-7 months. Yeah.
That you lived with him.
Yes.
And you worked at UPS.
Yes, overnight.
And so this is like the start of a new era, which is kind of like surviving in Austin.
Yes. With the help of a friend.
Help of a friend. Eventually, you get your own place. What was your first place?
It was in Mearns Meadow, so right in the Rutland and Runberg, between Rutland and Runberg, north of Mar.
I never saw it.
It was a place at that time that used to be called Quail Run.
Okay.
That was the name of the place. Yeah.
You worked for UPS for how long before you find Coke?
Oh, and that's until like another 2 years.
Okay. And so you worked at UPS for 2 years?
Overnight, but I got a second job in May of 2013 at Target pushing carts as a cart attendant. Yeah.
You're working 2 jobs.
Yeah.
You're making rent.
Yes.
Paying for your own food. Do you have a car?
I do. I brought my Chevy Illumina, which I call the Green Hornet, or the Green Hornet or the 8 Mile car. 'Cause it was very spacey.
Yeah.
You could fit like 6 dudes in the back. It was whatever.
Oh, okay.
So it only lasted for me like 4 months, April, and it died on me.
It died.
It did its course, but while this was happening, I know it seems like so fast, right? Like living in Austin with a friend, UPS overnight, then you get a second job. By the way, your car dies, then what?
Yeah.
Well, there's bus transportation.
Yeah.
That's cool. I can do that. And again, this is new to me, so I'm like, so
So in the valley, there are no buses really. Not really.
And that was new to me. I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
cool. And then, you might want to get there a little bit faster. Like, I got a bike, got a cheap ass bike, Academy for like $100, whatever. So I'm gonna ride the bike, go to the bus stop, put the bike in front of the bus, and find my way, man. So that was a whole journey as well. I think once I got a groove and started to get more money, I was like, yo, I got 2 jobs. Like, why not just find one? And okay, maybe I will. But once I get to the point, like, I want my own place.
Yeah.
Out of respect. Now I feel like I feel like I'm invading like Roy's space. Again, now I'm getting like triggers now. Like, okay, this is cool. Yeah, of course, I'm forever grateful for that. But now I'm starting to get like, you might want to go on your own, man. And what's best for you. Like, yes, tell them thank you any chance you get. Give them a hug, say I love you. But you might want to, for me.
Yeah.
So that was just that ride. It took its course, man. And again, it was flowing.
Yeah.
It was just going.
What year is this?
2013.
What happened to, because I think you're just kind of in survival mode, pay the bills mode,
right.
Get by mode, maybe save some money, live life mode. You kind of started over. When you moved from Donna to Austin. What's going on through your mind, like around that time, like in regards, no pun intended, to your relationship with music? Like, what's going on in your mind?
Man, it was a whirlwind of emotions. First of all, to even the drive of taking the amount of stuff that I had to take. Like, I had to sell a lot of my personal stuff. At the time, it was a PS3. Sold the PS3, sold the TV, sold this.
That hurts.
It did hurt, but I was like, let's just go to. I was like, who cares? These are just belongings and possessions. Because I was already used to it. I was already used to losing my stuff anyway. Like, I was like, whatever, dude. Like, it's just at that point, like, I don't know. It's like, fuck it, It it doesn't hurt me. I've already been hurt in this department, so if it doesn't happen again, like, okay, it's not gonna hurt me anymore. So, what's going through my mind? All kinds of emotions, man. I felt like I was succeeding, but then I felt like I was stupid. I felt like I was.
Why did you feel like you were stupid?
Because there was no, like, again, the initial intention. Like, I was just going aimlessly. You know
Going
what I mean?
fast, but not in a particular direction.
Well, there was just no direction.
Yeah.
It was just go. You know, because it's.
Well,
not,
what were you supposed to do?
What else am I supposed to do? What else can I do? You know,
You got 2 jobs.
yeah, and so, and it was cool. It was a learning experience. Yeah, I remember I was 20. I turned 21, so I was amped up, full of testosterone, and ready to go. You know, so I had all the energy. I can pound energy drinks and still be good and all that. But so it was exciting.
21, man, you were so young.
I was a kid, dude. I was a little boy. I mean, that's pretty much it.
21.
I was not even like, you're a man. No, like, no, I was a little boy. I was a little boy. And I was just trying to find myself, like, anything, like, please, like, dude, just, and I told myself, like, what if you just want to, like, save up some money and then go back? I was like, no. But I'm starting to ride this wave again. Now I'll get my own place, you know.
What are you listening to?
At this point, well, I will say this. So once my car got lost, I got a little discouraged. I was like, I don't know if I can do this, you know? I don't know if I'm going to be able to do it. And I told myself, I was like, man, well, Roy's doing his own thing. I'm grateful for the place. But now I didn't know how to put into words or I was like, I need some direction. I need something or someone to look up to. And I was like, I don't know how, like, I'm doing some things, but sometimes it's not working. You know what I mean? So at that time, it was my last year I started, well, maybe not, but it was my last year I used torrent sites. Yeah. So I'm torrenting, like, my favorite movies. I'm torrenting just my favorite 5 bands that I like in high school, whatever. The Lamb of Gods, and I'm getting their discography. I'm putting it in my iPod, right? I'm putting my music, okay. And at the time, I was still Tumblr. And, and that's how I came across, and I know you'll have a little bit saying this, but Tony Robbins.
Yeah.
That was a leap of faith that I didn't even know what to expect or what or how. Again, I found Tony Robbins through Tumblr, and I know there was a little bit mentioned in the past with you when we were hanging out.
Yeah.
But it was just very brief.
Yeah.
And it was just like, okay. Oh, and by the way, he comes on in the movie Shallow Hall. That's Tony.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
So, got my help. So I told myself, man, if I want to give myself a chance, if I want to at least try and help, like, personal development.
Yeah.
How things work, where to go, how to feel, how to, maybe you're feeling bad, how to change that. Like, I was like, I don't know anybody that can do that for me. I don't even know who to call. Like, I've been away for so long. By the way, it's been 5 years. Hey, my name's, can you show me how? I don't.
Sure.
That was very still uneasy for me. So,
yeah.
Got my hands on Personal Power 2, and that completely changed my life.
Really?
Oh yeah, and that kept me going, man. It sure, there was like little hungry kid, like, whoa, you went to Austin, got a job, you know, Bob.
You can only ride that high for so long.
Yeah, and I was like, and now I think with Tony, it was just like, like, he's like, here's your kerosene, and it just, like, huge bonfire. I'm like, I was like, this is not gonna turn off for a while, you know. So, once I did the 30-day program, I mean, I got momentum, and I started again ride this wave. Now my life, and again, it wasn't right away. Like, after 30 days, my life changed. Like, it wasn't like yes and no. As the days were going by, and I did them just in day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4. This was April of 2013. So I had to just point that out. And for anybody that's out there that's listening, like, if you want to take it to the next step, if you want, just go to the next level, or you're curious of, like, man, like, how do people do things, or how do they, or, like, you know, like that, like, next level, Tony Robbins, Personal Power 2, and he has other stuff, Get the Edge. Unleash the Power Within, Notes from a Friend.
Yeah.
So there's a bunch of stuff on YouTube as well. And
Now it's all on YouTube. Now you don't have to torrent it.
which, by the way, I bought it eventually later down the road, which I'll get into later. I stopped torrenting that year. But yeah, I just want to pinpoint that out. That was it. Just from here, here's the chart to a rocket, you know.
Yeah.
So
Shout out to Tony for that. What are you listening to, like, music wise?
music wise, Pandora was the one.
Yeah.
That, again, just as much as Tony impacted and moved my life, Pandora. That's why they call it Pandora's box. You don't know what you're gonna get.
Yeah.
So I would put the stations that I would put, and it would just be on shuffle. It's like, oh, you like this band? Check this out. And it would take forever to list a bunch, but now I'm starting to get into the gent thing, you know?
Really?
Yeah. So I was like, what is gent? Okay, cool. Animals as Leaders comes out. Oh, huge. Animals as Leaders. Cool.
Are they gent?
Yes and no. I would say progressive, classical, experimental,
Okay.
gent. You know, I know it sounds kind of weird.
Yeah.
More so progressive. So now I'm hearing other stuff. Like now I'm kind of catching up on other bands. Like, oh, I've always Fear Factory. A throwback band called Havoc, which they pay homage to the 80s, but it's modern. Late Night Alumni. That's super opposite of metal.
Yeah.
Which is like I don't even know, not pop, but not house.
House. Yeah.
House music. Now I'm getting into psytrance, trance with female lead vocals, dubstep, a little bit of lo-fi, just to have in the background. So Pandora just opened a huge, like, I can't tell you how many times while I'm walking, I'm on a bus, riding the bike at my job, and I'm like, who's this? Okay, and then I go to Spotify. I think Spotify was new at the time. I'm like, what? They've been around since '94. What the fuck? You know, I was like, okay. And so that's what I'm listening to. Pandora's Box. I was just liking tracks. I was busy and it was getting me going. I was like, this is cool. Oh, I'm gonna like that one. I'm gonna save it later. I'm gonna look you up later, and I'll go, oh, that's pretty cool. I'm gonna like that. So I'll go, you know. So that was my world for a minute, you know.
Yeah.
And I caught up a lot, so to speak, and I started to see, I'm like, oh, the band that you liked, you also liked this too, but it came from that. And I'm like, oh, so again, it's a huge world.
Yeah.
So a little bit of surf music as well, surf rock, punk, old punk, 80s punk. So it was a little bit of that.
When's the next time that you... I remember having a conversation with you around this time, and I asked you, like, how's your passion?
Right.
You know, I always like to cut the crap with people, and I always knew for you, like, music was your thing. One thing we I forgot to mention was around, I don't even know, when we did the Forest video.
That was 2011.
2011.
Yeah.
Okay. I was obsessed with cameras. I got a camera, started filming everything that I could. I knew that you were obsessed with drums. You bought a percussion set, and you were drumming anytime you could. And so I always felt like, oh, that's my thing, that's his thing. And there was times where, you know, you're pushing your dream, especially in your mid-20s, you're pushing your dream up a hill. It's like a boulder up a hill. And then sometimes you take like 10 steps back and you keep pushing it back up a hill. Like, that's what it looks like, right? And it sounds like during this era for you, like, you're moving to Austin, you're a stranger in a strange land. You have not that very many connections. You're listening to Pandora, you're busy, you know? And so time's kind of going by. Like, what's on the horizon for you? Like, what's a goal? What's a dream? Like, connect the dots for me on creating music again for the first time.
For sure. So,
like, what is in between that to your inevitable first record?
Okay, cool. So this jumps forward quite a bit. So anywhere from 2013 to 2017, there was no music. So Even though
How do you feel about that time? Because you're living life. It's not like it's a waste of time. I want to make that clear.
no, it was experience. It was always in the back of my head, but it was new to me, young, and again, starting to get momentum and starting to condition my mind, program my mind, look at my beliefs and values, keep some of it, it was okay. I was also experiencing life and experiencing people, getting to know the city, and it was a little overwhelming, but in a good way. And I was curious, like, oh, what is that? I wonder if I go there, what does this look like? Okay, cool. I'm starting to date girls, and now I have my own place, and now, and it wasn't even about getting laid. It was just like, now I have, like, if it were to happen, I can finally say, you want to come and hang out? I can make some dinner, whatever.
Yep.
We can, something nice like that, or so. I don't regret any of that, even though I'm like, oh, I'm just like, I wish I was, but I was living life, and I told myself, okay, if you're gonna have a shot, you get. I did 2 jobs for 2 years, 2013, 2014, 2015. UPS overnight, Target pushing carts, and a valet at Lexus. Both part-times, and I juggled them both. So it was brutal. So I was like, okay, then Coke came on, Coca-Cola. It was real easy, man. Once I did that part-time, and then Wendell Kang, the warehouse manager, he's the one that hired me. Once after a month, he's like, hey man, do you want full-time?
So we had a little technical difficulty there. We're back. For those listening, you probably didn't miss anything, but you were talking about getting full-time at Coke.
Yes.
And that was 2015. I know that personally.
Yes.
But you were saying how there was a gap from, I guess, 2013 to a certain year where there was no music. You were consuming music.
Right.
You were still researching shit and discovering new influences, but you hadn't gotten to that point yet where you were going to make music. And I'm curious where you were that got you there. Like, what was the... What pushed you to make music? What pushed you to... Because you could have never made music ever again and just paid bills, and that could have been your life, and that would have been fine.
Right.
But what changed?
I guess once I got to a solid foundation, that was very important for me to even think about even playing music. I would catch a couple shows here and there, and that would always keep the energy and the fire flowing, so to speak, so how did I get there? Well, again, 2013 to 2017, 4 years, like it was just, I don't say nonstop grinding, but I think once Coke came into play, I had to really make sure, like, if I'm gonna have a job, like, this is it. None of this, flip-flopping, part-time jobs. Like, I need something solid. I need a foundation. And again, it goes back to growing up as a kid. Like, I didn't have that support, and I've always wanted that for myself. And I said, and if I'm gonna do it, if I'm gonna have a chance, or even try to make an attempt to make music, I gotta have a solid foundation. And I think that was very, very crucial to not only prove to myself or whatever, or ride the wave as, this thing, this new, now I'm becoming my own person. I'm trying to, and also experiencing life. I'm making up for the stuff that I didn't do, that I couldn't do,
Mm-hmm.
and it was fun. So, and it wasn't bad, but it kind of, music was just not in the radar because like, oh, I'm dating girls now.
And you're still young as fuck.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's just so much out there, and the bike and the bus and going over here, getting to know the city. So it took a lot of time. It took some time. It wasn't just right away, and so I guess once 2017, now here's a new one. There's a website called Bandmix, so which is an artist profile. It's like a MySpace or a Facebook, but for artists. Post who you are, say what you play,
and tell people what you're about, and or share what you want to seek out, saying, hey, I'm this drummer, I'm looking for a bassist that can play in this style, hit me up, right? If you have music, you can post it so they can get an idea. And so here comes I have not used that site since 2011, which is weird because I used that when I was in the Valley in 2011 band mix, and for a little brief I was in a metal band called Derain, which never
I forgot about that.
it never really we recorded something. We recorded like 3-4 tracks. I recorded the physical drums in a room with Eli and Serge. Those were the names. And but I provided the drums, but again, I disbanded because I wasn't able, and they had some gigs and I missed out on that.
Yeah.
And they had to find another drummer. Anyway, so yeah, I go back. So 2017 comes around. I was like, you know what? Let me update it. It's been 6 years. Update the picture, update where I live. I got some messages like, whoa, okay, man, we've been looking for a drummer. I see your style. Like, what's going on? So I'm like, I don't want to play country, man. Like, no, that's not my thing. He's like, we can pay you. I was like, my heart's not going to be in it. Okay, cool. And I get this this guy calls me, and I think his name was Jeremiah. He's like, hey, man, I just wanted to call you and see if you wanted to audition for us. We don't have a band name, but we're just looking for someone who can play. If you can play Asking Alexandra, Tool, and Breaking Benjamin, then you're in. By the way, these are the 3 songs. I can't remember, but I know Tool was Sober. So, I think, is that Sober? Yeah. Yeah, it's that one. Yeah. So yeah, I played that on drums all the way through, and I was like, oh, easy. Not easy, but I was like, that was my homework, and I was like, and
What year is this?
2017.
Okay.
March of 2017. And I was like, yeah, it's pretty cool. I was like, not so much Breaking Benjamin, but I could do a Tool. I fucking love Tool. And so I'm there rehearsing. I'm like, okay, these are the drum parts. And I'm like, dude, but you haven't played drums in
Years.
6 years.
Damn.
Or like, where are your chops? Do you even... I was like, fuck. I was like, who cares? Like, but this is exciting. Like, you have an opportunity. Remember, my mindset, again, at this point, it's already been 4 years since Personal Power 2. So now I'm more developed. I'm getting a little bit older. I'm 25 now. I get my first car I bought, which is outside right now, which is a Subaru BRZ 2016, which is monumental.
I mean, I want to make this clear, and I'm not talking shit, but the car that you had before that you bought for $2,000 was a piece of shit. You know? Like, It was on its last legs, is what I mean. It's not like brand new. It was a piece of shit.
Right.
But like, it was from '96.
Right.
And so it was almost 20 years old. You know, it took you to Austin. It did its job. You're taking the bus. You're riding the bike. You're doing the grind. You're missing the bus. You're late sometimes. Like, it's such a fucking grind. So you getting a brand new car was very well deserved.
Plus, there was a Mustang 2002 that I bought was also a piece of shit.
Oh,
so
yeah.
There was that little arrow, yeah, for sure. And I had problems. I just something always happened. And I just let it go. I let it go.
Was that the one that was like cursed?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I called it the smoke monster.
Yeah.
Which is from Lost.
I forgot about that. Yeah.
Because it just never wanted... I say the smoke monster because it sounded like a freaking monster, but the smoke part was like the dark shit that just never didn't.
Yeah.
It just never wanted to, and I did try. Yeah. But I noticed I was like, I'm spending a lot of money more than I should. So I made a deal with the dealer. I was like, look, dude, I was like, I always call and update and tell you that I always have these problems. And he's like, it's okay, no problem. You can just pay me $50. That's all. Just fix your thing, pay me $50, and we're good. So I'm grateful for that. But when I turn in the keys, I'm like, dude, I can't do this, man. I turned it in, and he's like, cool, no worries. He just wrote it off. He's like, I'm not gonna come after you. I'm not gonna come find you saying, or I'm not gonna turn it into the collect for your credit. You're good, man. I was like, you've been really good to me. Everyone else is like shitty, or they avoid my calls, or they don't even make a payment. I'm talking about like these little car lots. You know what I'm talking about?
Sure,
like,
of course.
So he's like, man, he's like, you're a cool dude. You've always kept me. He's like, I can tell in your voice, like, you're just done. I was like, yeah. So I take one more year. I do another year of bike and bus.
Wow.
But this time around, I buy a fucking great ass bike called. It's a Trek bike, which is like,
Yeah, those are the best ones.
cost me like $600 or something. But I didn't mind it because one, I had all this money, not having a car payment, not having insurance, like that's all that money out. So
Yeah.
I knew it was an investment, and I only had one job.
Yeah.
So it was just, to and from, and I was close by. So I was like, yeah, I can do this. It did suck when it was 40-degree weather, but I got used to it.
But you got the car of your dreams, essentially. It was,
Yes, because my bike got stolen.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was the turning point. That was the breaking turning point.
Fuck me, man.
Yeah.
That's shitty.
Oh yeah. So, but yeah, that was a fuck you back to whoever stole it, in a good way. Plus, it was already time anyway. I was already doing 2016. I let go of that car, April of 2016. So I did a whole run till February of 2017. I was already on that projection anyway. Like,
Yeah.
so I saw the car that I wanted, and it's a standard 6-speed.
Yeah.
That's my choice, and it relates to music because I'm a drummer and I use all my limbs.
Yeah.
It's basically I want to use everything.
Yeah.
Right hand, left foot, or right hand in the clutch. So
Yeah.
people always ask me, "You do?" I was like, "Dude, you just drive. That's
Yeah.
it."
Yeah.
But so
But you were talking about there's like that MySpace for musicians.
yes,
Yeah. So
bad mix,
So this is in 2017. You're like, but I haven't played drums in so long.
right? And I
Yeah.
get some homework. This is your audition. Come
Yes.
by, learn these songs. Go in there. Okay, it's Jeremiah, some young kid. I know he looked pretty cool. And then there was Ed, Mr. Edward.
Who's featured on this new record?
Yes, Eddie Cobra.
Yes.
Who's a guitar player, and we went through the song. It was just like almost cut and dry. Here are the drums. Let's just take it from the top. Let's play the Breaking Benjamin song. Ready? 1, 2, 3. And okay, so I'm like there. We're playing. So we ran through it, and then eventually, like, I don't know, the singer, the whatever, he was talking crap or battling with the other guitar player. So it was just like me and Ed, and we're like, "Oh, what's up, dude? Like, how did you? We're just talking."
Yeah.
He's like, "Man, do you play anything else?" And we're just like meld. We're in the, and he's like, "Oh, you like Lamb of God too? Oh yeah, Linkin Park and all." We're going off, and I think we even played his like, he starts playing the riff, and I start playing the drums. So now we're doing our own thing, only
Yeah.
because they went away or something, or they were,
Yeah.
and then we stop. We're like, okay, let's go back to
Yeah.
So that was our first initial connection. So, yeah, shortly thereafter,
It's kind of like a love at first sight kind of thing with him, right?
yeah, because I remember once we were leaving, I don't know why the vocalist was so caught up on the other guitar player. I guess he was messing up or something. And to me, I was like, I didn't hear anything. That sounded great. Like, I don't know, or I don't know. But once we were leaving, Edward's like, hey man, can I grab your number so we can like do something sometime? And I knew what he meant by that. He's like, I don't know if I want to play with these guys,
Yeah.
But he's like, I think you're pretty cool. And I was like, oh really? Yeah, fuck yeah. So here's a little hiccup: is that he got my number, but I didn't get his. So there was another like a little gap that I just didn't hear from him. Well, it wasn't too long. So it was March, April, May, June, July. So it took another 4 months to hear back from him.
Damn.
Because I immediately went like the next week. I was like, oh, let me get that. I was like, oh, I didn't get his number. I was like,
Right.
fuck.
Yeah.
And so I think once he hit me up and it was like, let's go jam, which was at the time it was called Music Lab in St. Elmo. It's not there anymore. It's like a Tesla building or something. Man, we got together and it was magic. We started to just jam anything. Oh, let's play Rage Against the Machine. And he was like, okay, cool. And then let's just jam. Okay, cool. And it just felt right. He's like, dude, I got my own songs. And he's like, okay. I was like, let me study them and I'll bring them back to the next practice. And sure enough, he's like, let's play Blow Me Away. Oh, dude, so I got it. And he's like, dude, you got it pretty. I was like, yeah, I studied it, man. I got one. Now this is I don't want to say making music just yet, but it's in the process. And it's, again, reminding myself, like,
It's like a reintroduction.
reintroduction.
Yeah.
Being around someone, playing music, in a band, feels like that. Going over ideas, and that took its little course.
Wow. So that's 2017.
2017.
And I remember in 2017. It might be 2018. Going to watch you play.
Yes.
Was that 2017? It was like December.
It was November.
November 2017.
2017. Yeah.
What band was that, and like what was that? And I remember you guys had fun that night, and it was cool. And I of course I took my camera out there, and I was just happy to be there. But how did that come about? It was like a new gig. Here you are. It was like the first time I ever saw you play ever, because I never saw those Peter Piper lock-ins. I never saw
Oh man.
the Remain Regardless shows. Excuse me.
You didn't
So-
want to because it was cringy. So I feel at that time I was a little bit more. I was like, okay.
But I would just wanted to be like, that's my cousin right there, you know. So I wanted to
I
do it for
appreciate
that. Yeah. So talk to me about that show. Like that wasn't your first show. I still remember the venue. It was on Anderson Mill.
Yeah, I think Anderson Mill Pub. Yeah, it's on.
Yeah.
It's still there.
Yeah.
Um,
How did it go from with Ed to doing shows all of a sudden?
to be honest, that was only our only show.
Was it?
Yeah, sadly, I wish there was more, but for what it was, I don't know. We got. I think once, it's me and Ed, and he has a friend named Rob. He plays the bass guitar, and I think once we got that 3-piece together, and once we found out we could play his music. Now it's like, let's create our own songs. I think that was like the idea. Like we created songs, originals, but we didn't play them. We didn't play it live there because we felt like they were still new and they still needed work. And we were so comfortable about playing the ones that he created, which I had a joy playing. I still to this day have joy playing them, and it matches the style and the groove, and it's a little different, a little weird, but it's pretty cool. It matches. So I think that's what it was. It was just like the magic of like being on the same page, being like, oh, let's just take us to a gig, you know, like, and I don't even know how it happened. I think it was at that time at that place, St. Elmo Music Lab. There was a board where you walk down the hallway and like there's like little flyers, like little need a drummer, like
Right.
pick this number, you know, and
Yeah.
it's like an advertisement little wall.
Yeah.
And I think we picked one of those, like if you want to play a gig, if you're a band, open mic 7:30 to 10:30, whatever. So I think that's what it was.
Yeah.
And
Were they originals that you guys played?
there were Ed's originals,
Yes.
but we did have originals as together, but there were Ed's originals.
What was the name of the act?
At that time, it was Hybrid Cobra,
Hybrid Cobra.
which means at the time I wanted to be called Hybrid,
Yeah.
and he's Eddie Cobra, so you mentioned Hybrid Cobra, you know.
Oh, cool.
So, but we ended up calling ourselves Hybrid Animal after that.
Oh, okay.
So I don't know. I think Cobra is more of his thing, because Ed is like, he has his own music.
Yeah.
So I want to respect him in that regard.
Right.
And I think he wants to keep that separate, which I'm okay with it. I get that. Yeah, that was the name of the act, and played 3 songs.
Yeah.
I think it was.
That footage exists. It's out there.
It's out there. Yeah. And it was real quick and fast. And it was probably not only did you get to see me play the drums, but I think it's the first time you see me smile and be happy.
Yeah.
I know you can see it, man. You just
Yeah.
look back at the footage and like, I think I literally got off stage and you put the camera right in my face and you're like, what's going through your mind? I was like, dude, I just got off an adrenaline rush. You know, when you get off the stage and like, there was like, I don't want to say a standing ovation, but people were like, what the fuck did just happen? Like, or like, this is so cool. Like, guys, like, maybe they were drunk, I don't know. And I'm just like trying to soak it in, like, whoa. And like, I haven't felt this in a while. Like, this is my first gig since 2011. Like, you know, so all these was like going through my head. And which I didn't mind, you know. And I was like, I don't even know what I said. It was just like, it happened so fast, and that's all I can say for now. I think that's what I said.
Yeah.
Maybe I said something else. But it was good for what it was.
What was the next musical endeavor for you after that?
So I continued to ride that wave. It was just always the jam. Like, okay, created some originals, always spoofed around, jammed, created originals. That went on and off. 2018 started to come around. For whatever reason, I don't know, man. I think just Ed was at a different time. I wanted to get going, and not necessarily like, oh, we're not on the same page, we can't talk. It's more of, I don't know. I got the drive to play a gig again wasn't there. I don't know. Maybe we do have like a list of songs, and maybe that became a little overwhelming. We just didn't know how to play it. Some were challenging than others, some were cool, some were originals or whatever. So that was cool. 2018. And it was just on and off. Hey, we're gonna go practice music. Okay, cool. A month later, hey, we're gonna go practice. Okay, cool. And next month, okay, okay. So for me, that was like, okay, I got a little bit of a taste of a show, but I'm getting my chops back. Now I'm starting to like feel myself, and every little practice, like, hey man, like you're starting to get better. I'm like, no, I know this stuff. It's just that I'm shaking off the cobwebs, or I'm just applying all these things that I wanted to do for so long. Now I'm just applying them to the kid. Like there's no, I know sounds kind of a weird way. Like I've always practiced in my head. Sounds kind of like a maniac, but I've always been like in 2013 to 2017. Even though it seems like I wasn't doing anything, but I was doing something. Like I would always imagine a drum kick every time sometimes even when I need something to get out, I'm always doing this. Like this right hand just can't because I'm hearing something. So yeah, and then 2019 comes in.
Around 2018, we stopped talking. We had some heat.
Yes,
it was dumb. It was bullshit. It's whatever.
Yeah.
It's
water under the bridge.
It's in the past. So I'm genuinely like right now. I'm genuinely in the dark, like with 2019, and then the pandemic happens. But like, what was going on during that time?
I think 2019. I think once I realized 2017, cool, got the gig, whatever, goodbye, blah blah. 2018, yeah, I was like, okay, I have my chops back in wrestling terms. I'm running the ropes.
Yeah.
I'm taking bumps. I'm cutting a promo. I'm like, oh, okay, cool, and I'm getting confidence. Like, what's up? Let's go. And I can only do so much. So once 2019 came around, I was like, look, jamming is one thing, but I wanna get out there and start fucking, man. I don't want to puppy love. Oh, baby, I can't wait to text you tonight. Like, no, man, it's good. We already did all that. I already held the backpack for you. I walked you to class. We held hands. Everybody's watching. Oh my God, that's so cute. Like, I want to get to fucking, So, let's go. That's what's going on, and February of 2019. I don't know why. Maybe it does. Twitch was kind of new to me, even though it's been around. But I remember, I guess maybe it was apparent because Sasha Grey was on Twitch. And it was at a point where she was still new at it. So she had viewers, but not as much as now. Like, if you watch one of her videos now.
Does she stream now?
Oh, yeah, constantly, all the time. Like, she's scheduled to, and she's on YouTube and all that. The whole 9 yards, like everything. So, obviously, like, you know how YouTube videos, they have, like, the Twitch chat. And it's just scrolling. It's just, like, it just doesn't stop. But at that time, in February 2019, it was just like, hey, Sasha, blah, blah, blah. Hey, like, it was slow. Like, she wasn't even, yeah, she has a name for her. She's, like, famous for celebrity, but to establish her viewers, like, that was really cool. So, at one point in time, I found myself in that, and, I don't know. It was so, I remember just chatting, like, hey, Awsker from Austin, I feel that too. And I was like, holy shit. I was like, whoa, like, Sasha Grey, like, I mean, come on. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. It just moved me.
Yeah.
And she started to talk about her DJ days, or she was like, she's a DJ.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
She started saying, like, oh, I can't wait to DJ, this and that. So just, it sounds dumb, but virtually getting that digitally, it just moved me. And I was like, oh, that's really cool, man. I just got, like, acknowledged by Sasha Grey, even though she doesn't know what I look like or what. But at that time, it's like, man, that's so cool. She talking about music and this and that. And it felt like I was in an intimate, like, private show.
Yeah, that's what Twitch and all that is.
Yeah. And I was like, oh, this is so cool. So I was like, and she, for whatever reason, it made me feel like, go make your meal. Go make your own music.
Yeah.
What's so, I just started looking into it. I messed around with it once, but it was overwhelming, but I did it, and it's on YouTube. It's called Dexterity. In 2015, I programmed this track. What I did was I got a free licensed guitar track, right? I think I bought it for like $2 or something. I don't remember, $5. And you can do whatever you want with it, right? And I was experimenting with software, and I somehow ended up with Ableton. I don't know why. Very simple. Got the track, put it on the feed, and put the drums underneath. Well, by the way, I had to torrent a drum software. I think it was Addictive Drums. I think that was a software. So it replicates a real drum set, real sound, as opposed to like a drum machine, like you actually get hi-hats, snares, all that. So yeah, that took me a while, and I was like, I don't even know if I want to do this. Like, yeah, it's cool. But anyways, I was like, you know what? I'll do that again. Which, by the way, 2018. Okay, I missed one little part. I went to see Metallica and ACO in 2018. That one really, I mean, that sounds kind of cheesy and corny. It's Metallica, so now I want to be in a band now. But it really reminded me, like, dude,
who the fuck you are.
Yes, and being a part of a festival where, like, I could talk to you and be okay with it. I don't have to isolate from you. You know what I mean? Like, it feels like, this is my family. Oh,
Yeah. Yeah.
And I went with Ed and Rob, and I somehow, some way, I stumbled upon Guillen.
Yeah.
He was there. And
that's crazy. Because there's like 100,000 people there.
I remember, like, dude, I was like, what the fuck? And I kind of ditched Ed and Rob, and I'm like, hey, man, I'm going to be with my friend. His friend Guillen. He was by himself, but in a good way. I feel like Guillen was just very zen, like, I'm in this festival.
Yeah.
Going to soak all this in. From my reaction.
Sure.
And I was just like, hey, man, is it right if I can hang out with you? He's like, yeah, dude. And so we'll go check out tents and go over here and this and that. So that was really cool. And so at that time, remember, I wasn't doing any gigs or whatever. And I remember Ed and Guillen had a conversation about a Bring Me the Horizon album, I think. I'm sorry if I got that wrong. Some band, I think it was Bring Me the Horizon, which album was better, and they were going back and forth. And I remember just stepping back, and I was like, one of these days, I'm going to have them on a track. I don't know how I'm going to do it. I don't know how. I know Guillen does not live in Austin, but it just, like, it had this little, like, I know I can make it happen. I don't know how, so that was just like a little whisper.
Love that.
So, and then, of course, once Metallica hit, we all just disbanded, and who cares? I was in the mosh pit,
Yeah.
I let one song play. It was Hardwired. I was like, okay, Metallica's here. And then once the second song, Seek and Destroy, into the mosh pit, like,
you have to.
I had to do it. I had to do it.
You have to. You're like, I'm going to die.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I started pushing some fat motherfucker, so he had his shirt off that was sweating, and he was heavy. But I pushed him and I rocked him a little bit, whatever.
That's awesome.
Cool. Oh, I was like, oh, and I was like maybe from here to like where that tree is.
Yeah.
James Hetfield.
Wow.
Kirk Hammett.
You made your way.
Robert Trujillo. And by the way, that's Lars Ulrich. Oh, holy shit.
Yeah.
So shortly thereafter, maybe a week after, October of 2019, I got a bass guitar. I said to myself, if I'm going to make music, I need something to rely on. I need a foundation. I was like, okay, well, we're going to have to put the drums down and pick up something else. Well, you don't know how to play guitar. Yeah, but bass and drums, rhythm. Understand rhythm. How hard can it be? So I bought it, just a basic start, Ibanez, Geo Ibanez. I can't remember the model. But it's like a starter kit. It comes with a little amp, strings, and all that. So, again, I know...
Where'd you buy it?
Online.
Okay.
Yeah, it got delivered to me. I think I got it from a musician's friend. Yeah, so I got that and messed around.
Why the bass?
Because it's the closest thing to drums.
Is it?
Bass and drums, you know how, like, rhythm syncopation, like...
No, I don't.
Okay, well, anytime the drummer kicks the kick drum... Yeah. The bass does as well.
Oh, okay.
Like, picture that.
Oh, syncopated. Yeah.
Doom, 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 doom. Yeah, it's, Yeah, that's an example. Yeah, so I was like, okay.
How good are you at the bass today?
My chops were a little, Uh, not as good as anybody thinks it is.
You self-taught?
Yes.
Okay. Have you ever thought about getting training for it?
No. I said that because I just want to do the drums, you know.
Oh, I see.
But I am curious. I do. I if you give me a tab and I hear the song and I see the note, I see the notes.
Mm-hmm.
I can replicate it and I can play, but I can't tell you what I'm playing. But
Right.
I can see visually. I can see what's I'm supposed to be playing,
Mm-hmm.
and I can get yeah. But I was like, okay. So once I started to mess around with the bass guitar, I was like, oh, I'm creating the drum patterns that I have in my head, the whatever. Now I'm kind of just transferring it to with my fingers, you know, in a way, and I'm moving up and down, and I just kept it very simple. So 4 strings, that's why I got it simple. The top string's the lowest, the bottom string's the highest. You know, low to high, and then high to low, going from my right to the left. I was like, oh, that's pretty simple. If you hear something low and heavy, you go down to fretboard. If you hear something high and shimmery, you go down. I was like, yeah, okay, I could do that. I kept it very simple. I didn't want to overthink it. I don't want to be overwhelmed. I didn't want to worry about technique. No, you're not adding placement, or I didn't want to worry about. I just need something to get me going. I need to hear a bass line so I can. I'm like, oh, I don't know what I just played. I don't know what key I'm on. Wait, that sounds a little too high. Let me go up. Let me just tune it down a little bit. Okay, cool. Now, fast forward to 2019, the whole Twitch software grade thing, whatever. I already have my bass guitar, and now I get an interface, and now I get the software Cubase, and now that took its own journey. 2019 was all just going down YouTube wormholes. Today I'm going to show you how to program Cubase, you know, these Indians, which I'm grateful for them.
They're the teachers.
That's all I did 2019. And I didn't start releasing music till 2020, the end of December, almost even going to 21.
Yeah.
So it was, even though I felt like, man, I'm losing my chops. I'm not playing the drums. I'm not in a band anymore. I'm not gigging. But I was like, if you want to have your own voice and say something and not having to rely on someone, this is it. I was like, I know. I was like, I know you want to be on stage. I know you want to be, or you want to have access to a drum set so you can start vocaling your ideas. And so I just want to say, what you hear now, Redefined Landscape, took almost 2 years to get to that point as far as editing, how to mix. I don't know how to mix either way, but all that, like how to piece together, like the notes are coming in, how to open up plugins, how to work the software, the layout, all of that. I mean, you're an editor, so
Yeah.
you know how it was when you had FL Studio, or is it, or
Sony Vegas.
Sony Vegas? There you go.
Yeah.
Like in the beginning, you're like, where's anything,
Yep.
you know, and it can be overwhelming. That's what it was for me as well. It's like, okay, how do you change the tempo? Like, you know, so now it stops me from, I was like, oh, I have this cool riff, but it, you know, so I'm figuring it out. So I took a lot of time to just figure it out, you know, figure it out.
How long did it take to write Hybrid Chondria?
So I didn't start writing it until once pandemic hit. Of course, that's kind of an easy one. Pandemic hit 2020, and I was like, all right, now so more than ever. I was like, dude, if you're gonna write, I was like, fuck. I was like, you're not. If there's any time in history to write music and have your own voice, is right now. Okay, pandemic, you can't go outside, you can't get anybody, you can't be close to anybody. Fuck it, I'm in my room, I got nothing else to do. I was like, oh, by the way, you got a stable job. Thank God. I'm considered a
Essential worker.
essential worker, frontline worker. I still had to go to work, and thank God it wasn't as bad. It was a little bit traumatizing, you know, COVID, whatever. But grateful that I still had a job, you know, stable. And I literally saw people when I was out there, like literally people walking out of the building saying, well, that's it for me. I don't got a job. I don't know what I want to tell my kids, or I don't even know how I'm going to pay my bills. Like I literally saw that firsthand.
Fuck me.
And I was like, oh, man. And I felt bad. I'm like, I'm over here in a Coke uniform, still having a job. But it's like, so I just kind of just, I just stay quiet and I just kind of just said my prayers and said, I'm thankful. So I guess it took from March to October, September. So yeah, 6 months. It took me 6 months to write it.
How many tracks is Hybrid Conjure?
Just 5.
How did you come up with HYDRAJENAH?
That was at the very end. Once I had all the tracks, once I've got all this music out, what I thought was cool, which is, I'll get into it here in a second, but once I was to push enter, I was like, what are you gonna call yourself? So that delayed it. It should have been released a little bit earlier. And I'm like, oh man. Yeah, I struggled with it. I was like, I don't want my name out there. I want it to be something. Okay, well, what is it?
Why don't you want your name out there?
Cause the idea is that it's not just about me.
Why?
Because it's about being in a band and playing with people. There's nothing like it. I want that feedback from a guitarist. I want the vocalist, hey, dude, like, don't do any of these hippity-dippity stuff. Just play pocket or whatever. Because I want to serve the song, and I want that. And I like that pitch and catch. I want the ideas. Like, hey, man, whatever you just did, I like that. Don't change it. Or if you want to add more, whatever. I love that. And I just want to be part of the team, man. I want to sit down behind the booth and be like, hey, could you scream that part louder? I think it would sound cool. Hit. He's like, is that what you mean? Yeah, I think it sounds cool. What do you think? Yeah.
The collaboration.
Yes. Behind the scenes, getting together, trying to, so
you needed a band name.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I was like, how can I do that? How can I express and also make it not so obvious? And for me, I don't know why at the time, it didn't have to, but I had to be so adamant about, it has to be one word.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why. I was like, but that's really hard. He's like, but you can also combine 2 words. I was like, okay, that's really cool. So I was thinking, okay, I'm a hybrid. That's what hybrid. I want to be, hybrid, because that's pretty much everything up to this point. Like, I'm multi-dimensional. I'm not just one thing. I know for a long time when I was growing up as a kid, I've always been known as the Eminem guy.
Mm-hmm.
And then fast forward to middle school or high school, it's like, oh, he's the Lamb of God guy. He's the Chris Adler guy, And then now a little bit fast forward, now it's like, oh, he's the Meshuggah guy. Yeah, and which changed my whole world of how I play music. But so I was putting it together, hybrid, high. I was like, I like HY. Okay, what's next after that? Like hydrogen, like one of the elements of the universe, hydrogen, oxygen, carbon. I forgot the other 2. I was like, that's cool. I need hydrogen to, it's an element in the earth that if we don't have it, then we suffer. So it's like kind of like, I need my music. Yeah, okay. Hydrogen. I'm like, okay, well, you don't want to take the word hydrogen. I'm like, what about Hydra? Yeah, like Hydra the dragon, like dragon from Hercules,
Mm-hmm.
or King Ghidorah. I think one of the enemies for Godzilla.
Mm-hmm.
Which makes his appearance in King of Monsters,
Mm-hmm.
like that.
Just saw that last week. I mean, I'd seen it before, but saw it again.
Oh, it's great, So I'm like, oh, that's so cool, like a fucking dragon, like 1, 2, 3. I don't know, sounds dumb.
No, I mean it's cool, right?
And I was like, I'm not just one thing. I'm several things. I'm not just that. But if you fuck it together, this is what it is,
Mm-hmm.
So I'm trying to hydrogen. I was just like, whoa, hydrogen. I was like, HYDRAJENAH. I'm like, that sounds pretty cool. It almost wants to sound like androgynous.
Yeah.
I think Ed, he even announced it HYDRAJENAH. I'm like, that's not wrong.
Right.
That's like, I never really thought about pronouncing it, but it's HYDRAJENAH. That's how you're supposed to say it. But I say Jenna, Hydra the dragon. The name of the dragon is Jenna. There's no really a personal girl in my life named Jenna. It just sounds, the way it rolls off is like, which is like chasing the dragon, which I don't condone it, that chasing the dragon means like heroin kind of thing. But that's not what it is. It's just chasing something that not impossible or unattainable, but something that you really have to put a lot of effort into to get there. I don't know if that makes sense.
It does, yeah. How do you feel about your first record?
Oh man, I cringe.
I heard it recently.
I cringe.
Why do you cringe?
Oh man, the production, it sounds very bad. It's because it was my first time. When I'm hearing this stuff at me for the first time, I'm just like, oh, this sounds good. And again, I'm experiencing with the bass guitar. The only real instrument I'm programming on it's actually live is the bass guitar, which is the distortion. That's how it sounds, very muddy. And I'm like, ah. But I had some technical, or I didn't have the skill. I didn't know how to, like, the original way that comes from the software before export comes out different. I didn't know how to do the settings, man. Like, I was like, man, this is another fucking YouTube wormhole. I was like, fuck.
But you didn't let that stop you.
Right. So I told
Why was it so important to you to finish it, even though it was sketchy, like for you? Like you hadn't mastered the editing and everything. Why was it important for you to get it out?
I think at this point, at around this time, I make the move back to the Valley. So I felt it was. I think it was just like I was like, this is just a timestamp.
Did you finish it in Austin?
Yes, that was very important to me.
Okay.
Just to be like, okay, I just want to get my feet dirty. I had to remember myself. Okay, the production sucked. It wasn't until after the fact, right? Plus the whole COVID thing and then moving back to the Valley, it really messed with me. It did. I didn't want to initially, but the overall thing, I was like, but this is the right thing to do. So I'll just leave it at that. So I was like, well, it's your first one. Let it go. So in a way,
This was your first public project ever.
Ever. Yes. And I think at this point, I'm like, dude, like.
How old were you?
28.
You were a baby still. My God.
28, I think. Yeah. Wait, 2020.
What year were you born?
92. Yeah, 28.
28.
28 going into 29.
So you got it in before you were 30. That's cool.
Oh, yeah. I really made sure. So, yeah.
You lived such a crazy life in your 20s.
Fast.
Very fast.
Yeah.
A lot of ups and downs, trial and tribulations, a lot of experience, a lot of work, a lot of grind, a lot of speed. You can hear that in the first record. The first time I heard it, I was like, I didn't know Matthew had this in him. Like, I didn't know that your brain was this way. And then all of a sudden it showed me how your brain works. Mm-hmm. And I was like, oh, this is the shit that goes on in his mind. This is what he thinks about. These are the colors that he sees. These are the colors that he paints with. I heard the aggression. I heard the art. There's like some artsy fartsy elements to it. I mean, that's the vocabulary that I have. Kind of like some high concept sort of stuff, like in your music. There were no vocals on the first record.
Nope.
I don't even think there were like skits or anything.
No, just straight songs.
Straight bass.
Straight bass all the way through.
How did you pick your sound, find your voice? How'd you do that? Because you have a very weird voice. It's weird.
It is.
It's unlike anything I've ever heard. Now, I know that you have a constellation of influences. There's gent in there. There's metal in there. There's punk. There's surf. There's like, what is, and Redefine Landscape, the opening track.
Reinvention.
The, like, what do you call this? Because that vibe is in all your music.
Well, I gotta say this, like all that was always there from the beginning.
And it's always like, it's kind of like this, I'm going to get this wrong, so I apologize. But here's just like the bad way to put it. It sounds like this, like Egyptian epicness.
Yes.
Like like you're being transported out of Earth is what it sounds like. Mm-hmm. And that was there and that's like a through line in HYDRAJENAH. So that's in the DNA. It's in the bones. It's always been there. How did you arrive to that?
And yes, great question. I got to that point. There's a lot of sci-fi and cinematic stuff.
Definitely.
You can hear. I was like, okay, if you're Hydra the Dragon, put a dragon sound in there. Okay, make it visual. Like, is he coming out of space? Is he coming out of the water? Oh, it's a Nessie, the Loch Ness monster. Sounds cool. It's imaginary, cool. That's pretty cool. Oh, he's in water. Okay, I'll make surf music. That's pretty cool. It's a pretty common thing.
A lot of textures there.
Yeah,
Very
I'm
thoughtful.
And plus I'm a Pisces, which I'm not too like the moon of Virgo does not match my fucking stars, so therefore like I don't care about that.
Yeah.
I mean, I identify with it, but I'm not too anal with that. But anyways, so Pisces, so I try to paint that picture. Pisces, octopus, some ocean sounds, I add a lot of that stuff because I'm missing a lot at the same time. Even though I have bass and drums, I don't have a real guitar there, and there's no vocals, so I'm making it up. I'm adding all these background noise.
Atmosphere.
I'm adding atmosphere to make up for the fact that I don't have a real guitar player. You know what I mean?
Okay.
I'm missing this, and I know it, and I know people can be like, but there's something missing here. Yeah, he has the backbone, he has the meat and potatoes, but where's the vegetables? Where's the nice chords, that are ringing through, and where are the vocals? How do the vocals sound?
Yeah.
So that's how I got to that point, and how I got to like, here he goes. It goes back to hip hop, sampling.
Mm-hmm.
It enhances the song, taking from the 80s, like from someone, they clip off of like little doo 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 doo. They take that they put it on the DJ set, and they put a beat over it, and now somebody can rap over it. Now it's a hit.
Or they pitch it down, or
they pitch it down, and now it's Gangsta's Paradise by Coolio,
Right,
but he took it from that little sampling hip hop. It was always there, so I kind of had that idea, like, okay, like bass and drums, like yes, that's the backbone, but I'm missing a lot of those. I don't have a guitar player. Well, let me just add that atmosphere. Let me create a picture. And so that's how I arrived to that, and I picked certain sounds and paint images to where I match what I'm trying to say.
So you have 4 EPs.
No, I have 2 EPs and 3 albums.
Okay. 4 projects. Is that fair to say?
5.
Okay, 5. I'm sorry. You dropped 2 in the same year.
That was last year, yes. But
yeah, 2 in the same year.
Yeah, but 1 in also last year. So the year before that, 21.
21, yeah. Out of these projects, which one's your favorite?
Man,
It's like saying who's your favorite kid.
And I just had a kid. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
So I'm like, man, I probably have to go with the second passing.
Why?
Even though out of those 4, I don't count Redefine Landscape, the recent one.
Why?
Because I just had it, and it's its own thing.
It's its own thing?
Yeah, so the first 4 records is a nice little chapter.
Okay.
And then now flip like Redefine Landscape.
Yeah.
Even though it is the whole yes, it's part of me.
Yeah.
It's part of me, but I won't count it just yet, just because it's still fresh and new.
Because you're like in this new
wave, new sound, new production. You can just hear it's night and day. But the second passing, I think that's when I started to finally understand where, like, oh, I'm trying to get my style now. Like, okay, vocals are struggling a little bit, but I'm starting to get in there. Which, by the way, Revelation, you helped me pick that art out.
Yeah.
You helped me out Photoshop it.
Yeah, yeah.
Super grateful for that.
Sorry it took so much work.
No, I know, but it was over via text, so it was
Yeah.
hard to describe what I was trying to get.
Yeah, yeah.
We
we got there for sure.
No, we got there.
Yeah.
I look back and like even the first initial one, like, that was pretty good. Like, why don't you go with that one?
That's always the case. That's always the case. That's how it goes.
Yeah. But
I think we did like 30 passes or something. Yeah, that's part of it.
yeah,
And that's low. Oh, Okay, that worked out. And that's on the low end. How do you define your style?
I
want to hear you put it into words because the first, 2 records are kind of vocalless?
no, there's some vocals.
On the second one?
Yeah, the first so EP Hypochondria, and then it's Revelation.
Okay.
And there's 2 tracks with vocals. No, 3 tracks. 3 tracks
Okay.
with vocals.
Okay, it's because I can't read the lyrics. So, that's what I was gonna say. Especially with Redefined Landscape, that record needs to have a physical release because part of the experience that I was missing was going through the booklet, even though this doesn't exist anymore.
Right.
Going through the booklet and seeing like album art and reading the lyrics.
Mm.
I really wanted to be more immersive with the art. Mm-hmm. There's I know I'm jumping around. There's a track, Reawakening, where it opens with kind of like a robot sound.
It's a vocoder.
Yes. And the visuals are the album cover. You know what I mean? Like
Exactly. Yeah.
And it really jumped out to me and it made me want to be like, I want to see more of that world. I want to experience more of the art and like live in that space. But I didn't let you finish. I apologize. I wanted to say that.
We'll get there.
Yeah. How do you define your style? I want to hear you put it into words.
I'll do my best. It's a combination of cinematic. It's very visual. It's not just cut and dry, like, oh, it's what you did on the bass guitar or the way you sound. Like, yes, it does, but it's very visual. That's very one. Visual and cinematic, and I write in waves like this. So I try to make everything flow as best as I can. Sometimes it might be, especially with the first 4 records, like all these different styles of jumps. Like you went from this one surf track to like a fast punk song, and then you went to like metal. Like, what the hell?
Yeah, that's hard to wrap your. That's what I meant by weird.
Yeah.
I'm just when I think I got Matthew's shit figured out, like it changes.
And that's the thing with,
which is by design.
It is by design. It's all there. Like there's multiple things. Like you're gonna get this dragon, you're gonna get this dragon, you're gonna get this dragon. I don't know in what order, but here it is. You know, and it was also me just showcasing with stuff that I already love and I'm influenced. Like people was like, dude, you're into like that surf rock, like, whoa. I'm like, yeah, man. The Eliminators, Dick Dell, and all that kind of style, and like, yeah, I love that stuff. So visual, cinematic, waves, and groove. That's the best way I can put it. And maybe, yeah, that's one of the first initials out of my head. I'm pretty sure I'll come up with something else.
What is your vocal, lyrical content about? Like with Cannibal Corpse, it's very murder, death, mutilation. With Tool, it's very emotional, body, earth, spiritual, and so on. With Eminem, it's very autobiographical, like personal. Oh, a song that showed up on my playlist recently, I forgot it existed, was Beautiful from Eminem.
Oh, yeah.
And it opened with, I'm so fucking depressed, I just can't get out this slump, whatever. And like it was like a story. And what record is that?
Relapse.
And I was like, I was feeling it. I was like, damn, Eminem, like you felt how I feel right now. Like that's crazy. So we all, like, lyrical content. Like, what is your lyrical content about? Like, what stories are you telling? And I simply ask because I can't read the lyrics. And
I know.
And I'm not a lyric reader guy, but for your stuff, I'm super interested in that.
Usually, I like to tell stories, or I like to match the theme of what I'm talking about. But I try to come from a narrator perspective. I'm taking myself out and I'm writing about that. So I try to put it general, and I try to stay away words from me, you, like me. Because I want the other listener to put themselves in this place where I'm painting this picture. Again, it's visual. Like, hey, have you ever felt this vibe and you felt like that? Yeah, it's that, rather than like, this happened to me when I was 15. Like, I don't, and yeah, that's cool. There's nothing wrong with that. But if I'm going to be visual and like cinematic and like romantic, I try to put it in third person view.
Yeah.
I try. I do incorporate a lot of my personal experiences. So it's a little, it can be a little hard to be general when it's also very specific for me. So I'm trying to like, I'm like, okay. So I guess my lyrics are, it comes in a form of narrator, like poetry speech. I guess.
Once again, hip hop influenced as well.
Yeah, very,
Spoken word.
Spoken words, just poetry. And that's the style.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's the best way to put it. And it's a little different. It's not, my screams are not the best, but I try. I try to stay away from screaming only when I need to and if it's necessary.
Yeah.
So even the first time I ever did lyrics was Rebirth to Rise. So you can kind of see the common theme here: rebirth to rise, reawakening. So that one was really cool. I really liked the way it turned out, and it was very Meshuggah.
I hear a lot of Randy in your vocals.
Man,
There's
I appreciate that.
I think that's like the production, maybe.
Probably
there's like a. No, I'm not using the right words because I don't know sonics very well, but like there's like a reverb sort of wow.
Yeah.
And that's very Randy. How intentional is that?
Not at all. I'm just really like, in a weird way, it's putting my microphone and just putting a distortion, and I'm like this way, and I'm just talking like this, and it sounds like someone screaming.
Oh, okay.
And that's what it is. It's not. Yeah, there's some parts where, well, at the time, the first microphone I used was a $10 karaoke machine from the toy section at Walmart.
Why did you do that?
Because I didn't take vocals too seriously. I didn't think so. I was like, I want the attack. I want something to be there, because I was like, I know I'm missing vocals. Well,
And this is for Revelation,
Revelation, yeah.
Wow.
And the first time I was like,
which is your second project,
second project and first album.
right?
So in 2021, and the only release out of that whole year, 21.
Okay.
So,
I remember that there's a show. It's on HBO. It's called Primal, and it's an animated show, and it's about this caveman who goes on adventures with the Tyrannosaurus Rex, and it's a fucking metal show. I mean, it's hardcore. I mean, it's bloody. There's guts. I recommend it. Like, watch it. You could just like get dropped in and just start watching it. But I heard your record while watching that show, and it just like, that's where I saw the pictures, and I was like, whoa! Like, I'm seeing this come to life. It's 3-dimensional.
Revelation was like, whoa. And there was, I think the weird one is like Portal number 4. That one was like, what the fuck is this? And that was maybe intentional, but at the same time, it was more of like, I'm trying to find my voice here. Can't you hear me? Can't you hear me? Like, can't you hear that through this?
Yeah.
Like, literally, you know?
Yeah, that's the impression I got.
Yeah. So, and I'll say this about Revelation. I'll go to second passing, is that now that it's in space, it's been 2 years now that it's been out. The song Evolution is the most played, and it still gets played a lot.
Why do you think that is?
And it's my longest song. That to me is wild. Like, what? Usually like 6 minutes. Now I'm going to the 2 minutes, and I get it. The way of the world, it's short span. But I think it's a real long, progressive, great compositioning. It was one of my best compositioning. I pay homage to Breaking Bad. It opens up with Walter White in the beginning when he's a teacher. In the middle, he's talking to Gus. Like, so you can see the transformation. So I'm paying my homage to Breaking Bad and how I love the show, pretty much. And then towards the end, it becomes Heisenberg. That's how I try to paint it. It's very metal, very metal, but it has a lot of pictures and sounds and birds and dragons, and like, you're like, whoa, what is this? And I try to metaphorically apply that to Breaking Bad, and you can relate to it, like the evolution of something. Yeah. How someone changes, how someone goes through something, the cycle. So I think maybe that's why. But it's out there in Finland being played in some playlist, and someone keeps playing it.
That's so interesting.
I'm like, okay.
They got picked up. That's Spotify for you. That's the way it should be.
Yes.
So now it's funny because talk about full circle. You would go through Pandora's box, and now your tracks are out there in someone else's Pandora's box.
Yes.
And people are like, I want that vibe a part of this playlist.
Yes.
How's that feel?
I feel like it's a little rub in my heart. Like, it does good, you know, like, because I know.
You know, in sign language, that means I'm sorry.
Oh, does it?
Yeah, what you just did.
Oh, I just meant in like, in a way of like, my heart feels good. I mean, no, that's
yeah.
not the way it's being said, but yeah, man, it feels great, and it's moving and captivating. It's very cool. Like, so I'm doing something right. Like, if I can just reach to someone, they can have it in their playlist. Like, and also I'm giving it back, and I'm also trying to tell other people, like, you can do this too. You know, the way I feel about things, you have that feeling too, and you can go out there and put out your own music the way you want to. Like, you know, and somebody is gonna hear it, especially now, man. Also more so than ever with Spotify, which I use DistroKid as a distributor.
That's the way to do it.
It has everything.
Do you pay for that?
Yeah, it's
Monthly?
No, it's a one-time fee a year. It's $20 a year.
Oh, that's nothing.
Nothing. For unlimited, you can release as much as you want, and I think there's CD Baby or TuneCore, but you have to pay. That's a lot. So if you make, for every album, if you want to, for every song, it's like $10.
Damn.
It's like, yeah, if you want to make 10 songs, $100.
And your shit's like on Apple Music everywhere.
It's everywhere.
That's rad.
So, and I have the option, if I don't want it on iTunes, I can just click it and be like, I don't want it on there. But I try to keep it on the main ones, like it's on Tidal and Deezer and some of the new ones, you know.
Yeah.
So it's
weird how people use Deezer. That's weird.
It's out there, dude. Yeah. Tidal as well. Like, oh, I'm gonna listen to Tidal. I don't know, I guess.
The Second Passing. By then, you knew what you were doing.
I feel like now I'm starting to hold in my style. Like, I'm really, the first 3 tracks are like so strong. Quantum Shift, Moontide, and Jumpstart.
How are these albums so far up until this point to Second Passing? How are they different for you in content, storytelling wise?
Not really. There's not any difference. If anything, it just gets better.
I see.
My chops starting to get a little bit more. You can tell I'm a little bit more confident in the bass guitar. I'm starting to use more vocals now. Now it's starting to become a full picture. You know, it's like this one long big thing, and then Revelation and the Second Passing are pretty much a double. It's like part 1, part 2. And then Metamorphosis kind of just captures it. Me summarizes everything that I've just done. Like, it's like, hey, I know between these 2 records, it's 3 hours apart. If you put them together, it's 3 hours, which is a lot.
That is a lot.
No, I'm sorry. An hour and a half. I'm sorry.
Okay.
So that's 45.
That's a movie right there.
An hour and a half is a lot to, like, hey, can you listen to an hour and a half of my music? That's a lot. That is a lot to ask for. But it's out there and people can see, hey, can you give it to me in 5 songs? Like, can you give it to me in an EP? Metamorphosis. So Metamorphosis was like, here's the, what do you call that in English and literature? Like when you write an essay, like
The thesis?
Yeah.
The introduction?
Introduction, A, B, C, and then conclusion, like that.
Yeah.
Like, write me an essay, and that was my Metamorphosis to capture everything that I've just done.
So let's get to Redefine Landscape.
Now we're fucking.
This record is different. It's very, I don't know how you're going to feel about this, but
alright.
It's very catchy, actually. It's very chuggy. By now, like, I know what your genre is. Like, you're in a genre of your own. Like, I can't put you in any other genre. There's metal. I still don't know what gent is. Like, I still really don't. You know?
It's the onomatopoeia of the sound. It's just literally gent. That's just, it's just the sound. It's just basically a palm muted chord. And you know, it's all it is.
That's what it is.
It's just the style.
See, I always thought gent was like the
Oh no.
That's what I thought gent was.
No.
So what story are you telling with Redefine Landscape?
Redefine Landscape.
I do want to say that you made most of these records in the Valley.
Yes.
and then Redefine Landscape. Did you start it in the Valley?
I did.
And then you ended it here.
Yes.
And that's in the record.
Yes.
There's some sort of like frustration there.
Yes.
Again, talk to me about that.
Again, once I hit Metamorphosis, and it just felt like I can't say I'll never do it in that style, but again, the lack of production, man, or like the lack of not having a guitar was eating me up. So I went down on you. I was like, you know what? Let's go get a new. I was like, you're still gonna write in the format I think I'm gonna write. You know, I'm still gonna do my formula, just in a different sound. And I was like, how do I do that? Oh, there's plugins, dude. Go find a guitar plugin, find the one you want, and start writing from there. I was like, oh, okay. YouTube wormhole, I don't know, get down YouTube, whatever, find it. I find the plugin, I pay for it, of course, and this and that, and here I go. Once I found the 8-string guitar plugin, I was like, oh, and I dialed it into it the way I wanted it. I was like, this is it. But now it became like, oh, this is what I always wanted since the beginning, since hypochondria. But I was like, don't say that, man, because then
you're disrespecting the journey.
Right. I was like, dude, but it took you this long to get here, so, and maybe that's what it had to take. And okay, cool. So okay, cool. And I started messing around with it again. I'm playing the guitar without physically playing the guitar, and that was kind of weird. I'm just on a keyboard.
I don't know how you do it. Like, I actually don't know
It's just basically like telling the plugin, saying, hey, these.
Well, I know that, but I don't know how. Like, I don't know what's real and what's not real when I'm listening to the record.
I mean, I can tell you the same. Like, I'm playing it, I'm tapping it out. It's all rhythm and syncopation, but I can't tell you what key it's in.
Right.
Oh, maybe I can.
The sound sounds pretty real, though. It sounds like a real guitar.
Yeah, I mean, AI, technology.
Yeah.
We're already there. You can replicate anything, you know?
Yeah.
So I was like, man, I should have done this a long time ago. But for whatever it was, I flushed a lot out in a good way, like that's going to allow me, okay, if I'm going to make the next step to the next sound, okay, it's got to be the real deal, you know, even though it's not, because it's not the physical. I wish I had an 8-string guitar, which I'll look into that. Just for the sound, not to be all this virtuoso arpeggio kind of guy, but just to get the riffs, rhythm, very, very basic. So yeah, man. Once I got it, now I'm like, my writing approach started to get a little bit different, because I'm not used to just picking. Now I don't even have the bass guitar anymore. I'm in front of a screen, you know, and I'm seeing these like, I'm seeing the 8-string guitar, and I'm just tapping it out, and I'm seeing dun 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 dun, and I'm just tapping it out.
Interesting.
And once I tap out something I like, I tap it out, or I can go in manually in there and, like, you know, tell the guitar what to play. And I'm like, oh, that sounds cool. But I need it sped up a little bit. Okay, that's a little too fast. Okay, right, cool. It's a weird way to write music, but it's music for me. And it's what I got right now.
What's this record about for you?
Redefine Landscape. So, it sounds like it's in the music. No, but it's in the title. So, Landscape. So it's my way of, I'm coming back to Austin. I was in the Valley for 2.5 years. From 21 of January all the way to this year of 23, May of 23. So that's 2.5 years. So once I realized I was coming back to Austin, I was like, man, that sounds like a cool record. I was like, dude, you're familiar with the landscape. The landscape is the same. Austin's the same. You know this place. You've been here for a decade, well, maybe 8 years with a 2-year gap. But now, 10 years ago, I was here. Now 10 years later, I'm still here. But the landscape is still the same, but redefine means I'm giving it a different meaning.
So this record's a little more autobiographical than your others in content.
Yes.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Why'd you make that choice?
Because it reminds me. It reminds me how I started, and a lot of it too. I wrote it for my 21-year-old self the first time around. Mm-hmm. I was like, I didn't even know how to even. My 21-year-old brain couldn't even think about to even get something like this, you know.
Yeah.
So I'm writing to my 21-year-old self and some other moments, you know. But so yeah.
What would 21-year-old Matthew think about this record? Would this be his shit?
I think so. maybe, man, I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. That's a weird one. But I think overall, I'd be like, you made this? Like,
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, hey, 10 years from now, yeah, you're going to make this. By the way, there's 4 other records, you know. It's like, holy shit. So yeah, redefine landscape. Yeah, it's just the landscape is the same, but now I'm more mature and I'm more grown, and I'm kind of hitting some points and some spots now.
I think I know the answer to this. What's your favorite track off the record?
Oh man, I battle between.
Reawakening is fucking hard.
Yes.
Right?
Daddy, you're so big and strong. Sorry. I'm so sorry. I have no bits. Now we're fucking, man. And that one to me, I wrote that while I was in the Valley.
Interesting.
With the $10 cheap microphone.
I don't know why you did that, but go on.
No, but it was at the time. But I eventually got a better microphone, which is AT100, or it's a condenser mic.
Yeah.
So, which I started recording that in Turning Point and on. I don't know if you can hear that.
I think so.
It was more audible and more crisp.
Yeah.
I battle between Reawakening and The Never Ending Chase.
Okay.
And it's kind of not fair.
Those are
but-
good, man. Those are really good. Reawakening, Never Ending Chase, and Trifecta Drive are my favorite tracks, obviously.
Well, which is the one that sticks out for you most?
Never Ending Chase is a great closer. Probably Reawakening, to be honest. Just because it fucks.
Well, also, too, Reinvention is actually part of Reawakening. It was supposed to be all in one track, but I kept them separate because I wanted the listener to know, here's me fucking. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
play the track here rather than take you this
story.
story.
Yeah.
And to paint a picture, like Reinvention was in a desert, wind blowing, so south, and this, which, by the way, I paid for those vocals.
Oh, did you?
Yes, I
I was
did.
going to ask where you got them.
I paid for those vocals. She's on YouTube, and her name's Andrea Crooks. You can find her, and there's a bunch of stuff.
That's badass.
Film, you can use it for film. You can use it. The only thing now is like you just got to add your stuff on top of it. You
Right.
can't just copy and paste
Yeah.
and release it like that.
Yeah.
You got to put.
You
That's
got to
why,
alter it.
You got to alter it. You got to put. That's why I put strings underneath. I don't know if you heard that
Yeah.
string. Has like the you know. I try to match her note, which she was like, her frequency, which she was trying to hit, and then you have like the thunders and the. You know, it's like something's about to happen. What the fuck?
Right.
That's what I wanted in the beginning. Like, what's going on here? Like, what?
You don't know if you're on Earth or if you're going somewhere
Yeah,
else.
or in a desert or whatever, and like, whoa, and like, okay, and then I introduce the sound a little bit, dun dun dun, right, and I do it right, left, I pan them, right, left. So I wanted the sound, like, what is this? Like, what are you trying to tell? Like, so it's being very romantic about this is my new sound, and here it comes. And then cut, here comes the fucking, like, oh, now we're fucking reawakening into like, whoa. And then especially I only do like one bar verse, and I cut to the chase, like the very chorus catchy. Dun, 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 dun. I was like,
It's hard.
it's hard. I was like, oh, this fucking slaps and fucks. And so and then I go back to a verse like, wait, okay, we'll fuck, but let's give it a little break, you know. So yeah, I do like Reawakening. I really do. It was like my introduction to the new sound. So that's why, and it was my first completed song in this
Interesting.
form.
I wonder if that's rare to have your first song be the first song on the record.
Yeah, I knew it right away.
Interesting.
I was like, this is the first one. And I already knew it, like, Reawakening. Like, there was it wasn't titled anything else or whatever. So, and then just, and the vocoder, I was, again, being romantic again. It's like, it's me, but it's still not me yet. Like, I'm not going to introduce Awsker from HYDRAJENAH yet.
Right.
It's like, here's this narrator, like, robot, angel kind of thing. And by the way, you're going to get another verse. So where is he at? I don't hear those. Where are the vocals? And then, awake. You know, that's me.
Yeah.
And then I opened the lines with free at last from my shackles. So that's pretty dark. But it fucks. But that's just very being romantic about shackled to the fact of, like, I'm being chained up to, like, this thing that I can't hear, like, I have in my head, and I need to get it out.
Yeah.
But you can also apply it to, like, something personal or dark. But that's why I left it open-ended.
Yeah.
You know,
And you can hear it on the record. When you get to Trifecta Drive, I wanted to like start with that, but I was like, let me hear the whole thing, and I heard the whole record in order. I still don't know who's Eddie and who's Guillen, but I do want to say I really don't. You're probably like, no shit, this is fucking obvious, but I really don't, because it sounds like it's one sound.
Right.
But full circle from
Metallica, 2018,
and you're like, one of these days I'm gonna get these guys to work together, and you did it.
I did it. It took me 5 years.
Takes as long as it takes.
It's not the way that people draw it up, and it's not like I'm gonna get in the lab and I just heard this one thing and I just got on. I know, and I truly desire to have that someday. But for now, for what I've got, it's a very simple riff. Dun, 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 and I just heard this drive, like, okay. I just kept it very simple, and I was like, this sounds cool, and it sounds very like, I was like, I need a solo. I need a guitar solo. I want freestyle. I want like that jazz setting. Like,
Who opens it?
Eddie.
Eddie. Okay, I thought so.
But
But it's very melodic, so it could have been Guillen too.
True. Interesting comment, because for me, even though I don't compare or see Eddie one better than the other, I see them as their own voice and their own thing, right?
Of course.
But I purposely put Guillen at the end as like the main event. That's why it's very romantic. Before he comes on, there's like this. There's 3 dragons. Hydra the dragon again. The concept is there. I'm in the back. Trifecta drive. So the theme is still there. Like, oh, that's so cool. So yeah. So it's Ed. It's me holding the backbone. Eddie has something to say, by the way, and Guillen has something to say too. And I purposely wrestling. He's the main event, but I wanted, before I give you the main event of Guillen, I wanted to put like, here's a video package first. Mm-hmm. It's like, give me a fucking match, man. Like, give me the
cut to the main event.
Cut to the main event. Like, hit his music already. It's like, no, we gotta watch his promo first, whatever. Yeah. So yeah, it took a while though. When I heard it, I was like, okay. So I reached out to Ed first. I was like, hey man, like, can you write a solo over this? He's like, yeah. And it was almost immediate, maybe like a week, 2 weeks. When I reached out to Guillen, which was, again, I was like, this is my first time ever collabing with him, and I know he's very aware about my music. I was like, but would you ever want to do something with me? So I just threw it out there. I was like, look, dude, can you work with this? He's like, yeah, just give me a bid. And something happened, and it took a while. It took maybe like 3-4 months, and I asked him, hey man, you got anything? He's like, oh man, I'm still working on it. I want to say here, not too long, before funeral for my youth, mm-hmm. right? He wasn't really doing much, I think he re-released Into the Void. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. He remastered it and remixed it. I heard it again, great, and that's kind of it. So I don't know if he was in that headspace, or maybe he was just a little like, I don't want to do anything, which I understand. So yeah, and then finally, Easter of this year, you were there. The day before Easter, we got on the phone call. We talked for like 2 hours. He's like, man, what are you listening to? What are you hearing? And I was like, and we go over this thing, and I was like, he's like, all right, just give me a little bit more, and I got you. I'm like, okay, cool. So once I moved back to Austin, it's mid of May. Sure enough, I see a link to Dropbox. He's like, what do you think? And I was like, holy shit. So it took a little bit, but I let it take its course.
Yeah, it's the process.
And I let Guillen just be Guillen. I was like, dude, there's no rush. I even told him, like, look, if you need more bars or more space, mm-hmm. I can expand that. If you feel like, dude, I hear that. I was like, okay. I was so open. Like, I was like, dude, but this is the vibe I'm trying to get. Mm-hmm. I was like, I know you can hear it. He's like, yeah. So again, that's a homage to Meshuggah. If that's not Meshuggah, then Super. He has that the main guitarist from Meshuggah of Frederick. It's very apparent, but it's in our own way, so it's just pretty cool. So when you open up with those 4 chords, I was like, oh my god, it's so fuck. And then once he starts to fuck in the guitar, I was like, that's it.
Let's give Guillen his flowers. Like, how amazing is it to work with him, and what a talented guy. And he he listens to everything, and so he can pull things out of the air that like most people don't have the vocabulary for. He has the vocabulary. He's trained. Even if you ever need vocals in the future, he can do that. Like, I mean, what a collaborator, you know?
Yes.
What an honor to work with him. How does that feel?
Super grateful and humble, man. I'm so super happy. I was like, oh, when I first heard it, I was like, is this really happening? So that's why I had to really make sure, like, before I bring you in, like, I have to make you wait just a little bit. There's a little, like, you know, there's a dragon in the background, and dun 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 has like a beat.
Yeah.
Like something's coming, you know. So I try to be a little bit romantic about it. I kind of wanted to honor and respect them in that way, and I say vocals there. I say when worlds collide, dreams become a reality.
Yeah.
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 That's my little hidden man. Like, this is a dream.
Yeah.
Like, to have Guillen on, you know. But I say it in like, when worlds collide and dreams become a reality. So
Yeah.
it's just to be very, I don't know.
I feel like that's like the bar of the record.
When worlds collide and dreams become a reality. Yeah. Yeah.
Like, that to me is like that's it right there. That's the whole record right there.
So I all the flowers and balloons and some and more anytime, man. And I know Guillen he's very humble, man. I know sometimes he's kind of like, I know, because I listened to the podcast with you and Guillen.
Mm-hmm. Oh, did you?
Yeah, it's great.
Cool. Yeah, he's amazing.
Great, man, great. I respect that guy anytime, and I've told him, like, dude, if you don't want me to do vocals for you, or you want me to write you a riff, anytime, brother, like, please. And so yeah, and then he always sends me his stuff, and it's great, and we have a Dropbox, and I'm like, oh, what do you think this? I'm not gonna release it though, but what do you think? You know?
Yeah.
And so it's pretty cool to have that feedback, and he's very vocal, so I like that. I like his feedback, so I'm very grateful, man. I'm super humble, and so thank you, Guillen. I really appreciate it, man.
I want to get to your list, but
Yes.
one of my final questions
Yes.
actually is, where does HYDRAJENAH go from here? You've told a lot of your stories, and a lot of what was on this pod about your frustrations and that uncertainty and the anger.
Yes.
Like, it's on the music now.
Mm-hmm.
Where do you go from here?
That's one of the questions that first came when I first released it. Like, okay, you can release it, and then what? Okay, now it's out there, and then what? I'm gonna let a little bit of time just pass. It's still fresh in my head.
It just came out.
It just came out, and I don't want to hear it anymore in a good way. It's meaning, like, I don't know how many times I went down each song to a review to make sure I'm like, and there's still some I'm like, oh, I forgot to add a fill in there, son of a bitch. It's little small details. I forgot to turn on
I think I know which part you're talking about, where I'm like, there's supposed to be a fill here. Like,
Yeah.
this is Awsker. How did he? Where is
Yep.
it? Yeah, that's funny you said
It's
that.
'cause
I wouldn't have said that, but yeah.
Yeah,
I thought about
it's
it.
there. So there's mistakes. Not a mistake, but it's like something's missing. Hey.
Yeah, areas of opportunity.
Yeah, so I had to just leave it alone. Meaning, like, if I don't know, those little details were killing me, man. Because like I'm doing all this by myself too.
Of course.
So, I'm gonna let time pass by, and it made me realize I can compose, and now I can. Not the best mixer. I don't know how to mix a record, but there's also like on the
Pay for training.
yeah. I'm
Yeah,
looking
take
into
a course.
I looked into it.
Yeah.
And so I already dabbled in, so I'm pretty sure once I get in, I'm like, oh, this is what I was doing wrong.
It might just be one person be like, yeah, just do this instead of that, and you're gonna be like, fucking hell. Oh, okay.
So there's that. Let some time pass by. And I think once 2024 comes around, I'm gonna get a wild hair up my ass, and then I'm just gonna release.
2024, something's gonna happen. I feel it. Something's gonna
I
have like, you know how like dogs bark before like an earthquake. Like, I feel that way. Like, something's gonna happen in 2024. So there's gonna be material there.
Yes. So yeah. I think I might say it right now, but also too, I'm probably gonna go the singles route. Just one track.
Love that.
Just okay, dude. It's like okay, EP albums, and although I will say, I say these are albums or EPs, but they're not. These are demos and auditions. This is my profile, my art profile, my musician profile, to collab with the next musician and or get the next gig. I don't think if I hadn't done the past 4 records before Redefine Landscape, I don't think I would have collabed with Gian. Because, well, it's like, yeah, he does want to collab with you, but what do you have?
Of course.
What is there to show?
You need the portfolio.
So now Gian can be like, oh yeah, I can work with something like that. Or give somebody else an opportunity, like, hey, out of all the discography, this right here, I can do that. Like, okay, cool. So it's giving myself a chance for the next opportunity, the next gig, the next collaboration, the next musician I meet out there in the world. He can be from Sweden, and like, you know, and he'd be like, yo, I like whatever, and I'm down for that. That's pretty cool. So, and I think I'm gonna go with the singles route for sure, because
I think that's a great idea.
album and EPs, that takes so much out of you, man.
For sure.
So Redefine Landscape did take a year to make.
Wow.
From September 22nd all the way to November, so maybe a little over a year, a year and 2 months.
You can hear it.
I had to make sure, like, I had to be romantic. Like, this is a new sound. Like, holy shit! And I just wanted people to know, like,
I'm glad you keep using the word romantic, because
yeah,
it's actually a beautiful, triggering word for me. Real quick, this is an actual tangent, but
it's all good.
CM Punk came back.
Of course.
And that's very romantic, you know, when your hero comes back, like, in a big, glorious, like, people are calling it one of the greatest returns, and that might be recency bias, but it's wrestling, so people are hyperbolic. And I'm rewatching WWE, and I stopped watching it like 5 years ago, and they have a whole new way of doing business now that, like, I'm still getting used to. And you mentioned, like, okay, before we get to the main event with Guillen, here's this little promo package, like, right before, I know you want it, but I want you to want it, right? WWE does that, and it's very romantic. They are a very romantic business. Like, they're very, they're not wrestlers, they're superstars.
Right.
It's not wrestling, it's sports entertainment. Like, it's very romantic. Like, you can drop in at any time and get familiar with who everybody is and why they're fighting. You know, they put a lot of effort into that production, storytelling. So like, you using the word romantic to me is like reminding me just how beautiful that is. Like, to pay homage, to set up something and frame it in such a way that is like a beautiful, like, you know, it kind of goes back to like your roots of like Remain Regardless, like the effort and energy of like, this is bringing people together. And what is more romantic than like making music that praises God?
Yes. Right?
Like, that's romantic, right?
Yes.
And so like your whole story, now I'm getting romantic about, this has been a 4-hour podcast. It was the longest podcast I've ever done.
Oh, shit.
That's romantic.
It doesn't feel like 4 hours.
Well, that's how I like to think I'm pretty good at my job. Just kidding. No, but no, I mean, that's the way it should feel. But now I'm getting romantic because so much of your journey was about like the struggle, the anger, the pain, the hurt. How are you doing today? 2023, it's December 2nd of this recording, 2023. Where are you at right now? Like, how do you feel? And as a musician and as a man?
I feel like I'm entering the next phase of my life. I feel like I just said goodbye to my 20s like 2 years ago, you know, so I'm good with it. I'm happy with it. I don't regret anything, good, bad, or indifferent. All my mistakes, all the bad stuff that I said, or if I'd hurt anybody, like, I'm good with it. And I said goodbye, and I've always looked back and, even if it's like it was dark a couple times, I always have to remember that I always got some good out of it, you know? And I've always tried to, even though as bad as it sucked and this and that, and I felt angry, I always try to channel it into something positive. And what way to do it into music and just let it out. So it's a very good outlet, and I feel so happy now. I feel more with Redefine Landscape. It's like, I know it took me 4 records, but damn it, you know. And who knows? It's a weird HYDRAJENAH. I could just do a surf rock album, the next one. Or I can just continue doing this sound. I don't know. And I have that. I have the options. So I'm still. I came back to Austin. I've only been here for what, 6 months, 7 months now. I want to see the full cycle. I want to go. I want to be in May of 2024, even though I don't know how it looks like. But I want to be standing May 6, 2024. Okay, dude, it's been 1 year. And I want that because it was a little tough again. Going from the valley, coming back, there was a little bit of weight there. So hence why I wrote down "Suffering Departure." That's a very dark song. It's really dark. But so I guess I'm going through this journey of being my own man, and I'm starting to get to a place where I can feel more at ease and more relaxed and be in a position to do something like this.
Mm-hmm.
So anytime you want me to write a song for you, I can. Or I was like, I want that HYDRAJENAH-esque for this.
Mm-hmm.
I can do that for you. And I'm more open, to do something like this. Like I feel like if I didn't have made that music, there's no confidence for me to even do this. I even told you at first, I was like, it's the way I sound. If I sound weird, but I don't know the way I come off. But so again, let some time pass by. February, March, April, and feel it out. And what's next for HYDRAJENAH? Well, I'll do the singles route. I'll always write, even if I don't have the intention of releasing it. I still want to just keep my pulse on it.
Oh yeah.
Even if it's just like
You don't want to knock off the cobwebs.
No. I just want to run the ropes in my backyard. I don't want to have a match in front of everybody.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't have to be the main event. I don't want to do that. I just want to run the ropes. Like I need to take the bumps. So even though if it takes me 6 months, like I'm ready to go. Someone says, "Hey, dude, I just heard your stuff. Come on, like come drum for us." Like, and I would be ready. So and I'm gonna really try this time year round to push for a rehearsal space so I can set up my drums, because I do have a drum set, by the way. So I think I'll actually be physically engaged for HYDRAJENAH. I think that'll help a lot to be more creative, and it's different.
You need space.
You need space, but it's different to hear something that's right in front of you in the computer in your head, and that's cool,
Mm-hmm.
and you capture it. But it's different when you sit behind the actual kit and come up with something like, "Oh, that sounds so cool. Let me go take that and let me go program that."
Mm-hmm.
Because it's just you're involved with the instrument, as opposed to just opening up the plugin. It's playing the drums, but you're not,
Yeah.
because you're programming it. So, yeah. So I hope that made sense. I hope that answered that question.
No, it did. I want to make sure that we get to your list, and I want to make sure that you get all your shit in. Is there anything that maybe I didn't ask, or something else that you want to talk about before we tell people how they can support you and listen to HYDRAJENAH and listen to these new records, and that way they can actually have music to accompany with the podcast and be like, "Oh, that's what these guys are talking about. That's what he means by cinematic." Before we get there, like, is there anything I want to know if I missed anything?
Just the influential, I just want to name influences of drummers
Of course.
that I aspire, and I always interested. Like, I want to see more. I want to see more of the video. Okay, I saw the interview. Okay, I already saw everything. Okay, go to the next drummer. Okay, give me more. Oh, I need more. So
Of course.
there's a big list, but they somehow, some way, I see myself in them, and they keep me. It always reminds me, like, whenever I get dark, or maybe I get complacent, or I start to lose track, or I start to like get discouraged, I just like put on one of these videos, like, oh my God, yes. It reminds me again, like, dude, like, this is fun, man. Like, you love this instrument. And I know sometimes you can get a little hard on yourself and this and that, but there's a lot, and there's so much to cover, but there's a handful of drummers in there that I'm influenced by, and you can hear, like, the ones that I'm just gonna call out, and that's pretty much it. Like, it's just saying thank you for showing me, thank you for you picking up those sticks and you believing in yourself, so you can play the drums, and then so I can watch and be like, holy, like, I want to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Right now it's not the way but I'm still involved in it somehow, you know. Even right now, like I'm involved with the creative. It's still something as opposed to like nothing, you know. So, anything else?
Well, who are those guys?
I have them right here. So this was just a. I just want to show it quick. Like this was just like a bracket to hit all the spots, and I think
Yeah.
we hit them without even looking at the
I
notes.
didn't
dude.
even look at it.
No, I swear.
Yeah.
And we ended with redefined landscape, so it's perfect.
Fuck yeah.
So these are the list of drummers.
Yeah.
There's a total of 55.
Oh my God.
There's a total of 55. I just want to run through them.
Run through them.
The first 50 are men, and the last 5 are female. Chris Adler, Thomas Hawk, Matt Garska, Gene Hoglan, Bobby Drzambek, Steve Shelton, Mike Portnoy, Lars Ulrich, Dave Lombardo, Uli Kush, I think I said that right, Gar Samuels, Jojo Mayer, Tony Royster Jr., Thomas Pridgeon, Eric Moore, Mike Johnston, Sean Reinhardt, Thomas Lang, Neil Peart, Travis Barker, Bill Stevenson, Morgan Agron, Anup Sastry, sorry if I said that wrong, Joey Jordison, Dave Weckel, Vinny Colaiuta, Steve Gadd, Benny Greb, Vladislav Ulasvik, sorry man, Stuart Copeland, Tony Williams, Gene Krupa, Jim Chapin, Igor Cavalera, Dirk Verburen, Gavin Harrison, Vinnie Paul, Pete Weber, Raymond Herrera, Danny Carey, Dennis Chambers, Gary Novak, John Bonham, Clive Burr, Phil Collins, George Callias, Derek Roddy, Grayson Nuckertman, Dom Famularo, and Buddy Rich. Those are like 50 drummers that impact me. And these are the 5 females as well. Meg White, Mado Cohen, Annika Niles, Paulina Villar, and Sheila E. I think I said that right. So I somehow discovered them, and they blow my mind, and I want more. And there's so much there. And I learned from each and one of them something: feel, dynamics, sound, tone, the way someone moves, the way they drum, the way they set up their drum set, all that. So I just want to make a shout out. Like those are my drumming influences. So I watch instructional DVDs. Like today I'm going to show you the paradiddle, all that stuff. And all of that. I watch it all. Even though I know what a paradiddle it is, I'm still going to watch it.
Yeah.
Because you might learn something. It's like, it feels like it's infinite. It's never ending. Hence never ending chase. It's a long life journey. It's a long life instrument. Like I'm going to play this till I'm 65, 70, till I'm not here anymore, until I can't anymore. I'll probably be on a practice pad on like my deathbed or something right before. And I'm like, I think my left hand's getting better, so, that's how much I love the drums. I love drumming, and music is life, and drum is the choice of my instrument. And, I can't wait to actually be playing on a live kit someday here soon. And, what else? HYDRAJENAH, you can find it. I'm on Instagram, YouTube, HYDRAJENAH, HYDRAJENAH, HYDRAJENAH or HYDRAJENAH. Instagram is HYDRAJENAH _ for whatever reason it didn't allow me to have it just one word. Spotify, HYDRAJENAH. It's also on Apple. It's also on YouTube as a video. Some people, I don't know why, like, can you send me the link for YouTube? I'm like, yeah, sure. So you can find me there, and it's there forever. So anybody that wants to chime in and take a listen and what have you, this is me. This is me. This is the most naked I've ever been, ever in existence. This is the most opening. I mean, I'm really not missing anything. Maybe once I'm done, like, oh, I probably missed that part. But those are little details that whatever. But for the most part, I try to hit each and every marker to catch up with someone. So if someone's out there like, man, like, how come he's like that? How come he acts this way? How come he's so, there you go. I hope it gives someone insight, a perspective, and anybody that's out there that's struggling to be a creative is like, dude, I hope you can use my example of like, I cringe with my first record, but just keep with it and stick with it. That's the whole point. I stuck with HYDRAJENAH. You can tell from Hypochondria EP all the way to Redefined Land. I just stuck with it, and I did it, and I did it, and I did it. So I wanted to reach out to someone out there that's either doing it or they just don't know how or what, and if they want to, they can reach out to me personally if they want, or DM me, which is Awsker Matthew. Awsker spelled AWSKER MATHEW. You can find me there, Instagram, Facebook, and send me a message. I'm more than welcome to discuss anything and just try to be a friend or a stranger or whatever. I try to be accommodating for the creatives. Anybody that's out there that picked up an instrument or wants to do a podcast, maybe someone's like, oh, Oscar's in a podcast. Now I want to be in a podcast. I have a story to say. I was like, well, here's my boy Knives. Here's a contact info. Get with him. He'll do a podcast with you. By the way, yeah. So I'm more than welcome to have all these doors open, and I'm just more free and open, and I'm allowing myself to be out there. I'm finally at a place where I feel comfortable with who I am. I know it took me 31 years, but maybe 20. But I'm so happy to be in this position, and I'm so thankful for this podcast. I really am, man. I won't say that this would explode, but I know it'll reach out to people that I don't even know, and they're just gonna like, whoa. I just hope they take away something. And I wanted to say I'm sorry that it took 4 hours.
No,
but
don't. Some stories require that time.
Yes.
And when you listen to it, like Roger Ebert, who was a film critic, said, there's no such thing as a good movie that's too long. If it's good and it ain't too long, it's short. You know what I mean? So I hope this passed by for people that listen to it and they heard it on a long walk, or they heard it in 10 chunks or whatever. You know what I mean? Like there's a playlist worth of content that is inside this podcast, and I'm happy to do it.
I got to be romantic about this one, is that for that one person that made it this far with not stopping,
hell yeah.
Thank you. I love you. You deserve to be loved. And yeah, thank you so much. I appreciate that, because I know it's not easy to sit through 4 hours. And I've sat through 4 hours, but the ones that I've been interested in, so.
Of course.
Yeah, man. So I think I'm pretty good. I don't think I'm missing anything, unless you feel like something.
I feel really good. Okay. I just want to end this with saying, I love you so much, and thank you for coming on this podcast and doing this with me. Like, it's epic, and it's romantic, and it's all the things that I set out to try to make. And so I asked you, hey man, if you ever want to make a music video or something, I'm happy to do that. And you're like, what would be cool? A podcast. And I thought, you know what, I can do.
Right.
So I'm happy we got this in. And for everybody that made it this far, thank you. Let us know in the comments, and appreciate you guys, and keep a force field around your heart. We'll see you guys on the next podcast. Peace.
Peace.